Hello, and welcome to Rewind Reviews, and a bloody Merry Christmas to all of yous, if you're into that.
Isn't this? Yeah, this is Christmas Eve, isn't it?
Christmas Eve. It is. It's Christmas Eve. Santa's are coming.
Happy Christmas Eve, people.
He's
beautiful
people. He's packing up his sleigh. He's
Oh,
double
here's a
checking he's double checking that Jack Skeleton isn't lurking about to kidnap him again.
Here's a little thing I did Christmassy, Dan, this morning, in fact.
Well, it's worth before you say that, I just want the full context of this to be known. It's November, so whatever you did Christmassy this morning may be very fitting and not at all insane to the people listening because it's Christmas Eve. But I just want this clarified that we recorded these early because of just scheduling was looking tight around Christmas. So we've recorded these in November. So whatever Chris did Christmassy this morning was probably mental. So I want that context known before he speaks.
Well, it was a very festive evening last night because of Jingle All The Way and Pizza Hut's Christmas pizza, which I know we'll talk about in a sec.
Well, we do need to talk about the Christmas pizza. Well, maybe we save that for the end so we can get some actual talk of the movie out of the way. But
what we're gonna do now is an irritating quiz, Dan, because basically Jess woke up and was like, "What's the second gift on the 12 days of Christmas?" And I was like, "Huh?" And she was like, I can't remember what the second gift is. The tune's in my head, but I don't know what the second gift is. Which proceeded for me to kind of go through it with her, and then I sang the entire thing properly, like did the first day, and then increased every time and all that sort of stuff. So Dan, let's have a little mini quiz. What's the first? Obviously, you know the first one.
Bells are ringing, lords are leaping. One of them.
I mean, maybe you don't then. The first one is a partridge in a pear tree, Dan.
And that's the last thing you say, isn't it?
No, but it's the first. It's the first day of Christmas. Yeah, that's why it's the last thing, because you go in reverse order, don't you? So you build it up. So you go first thing, second, right. First thing, third, second, third.
Right. So okay, partridge in a pear tree, turtle doves,
correct.
French hens.
Yep.
There's one between French hens and gold rings.
Yep, 4.
Because I know that it's 5 gold
rings. Yeah.
So I don't know 4.
Well, fun fact for you, Jess didn't know 4 either because she thought it was 2. She basically bumped everything up 1. So 4 is 4 cooling birds.
Right.
Obviously, you've got 5 gold
birds?
rings. Huh? 4 cooling birds. 4 cooling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. Is that a copyright? Right. Who knows? Anyway, Dan, very quickly, do you know what the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th?
Okay, so geese are laying.
Yep.
Which I always just thought was just bad English. Like, write a better song. It's just bad grammar, isn't it? Swans are swimming.
You say, remind me to say something about the grammar, but yes, 7 swans are swimming. You are correct.
See, maids are milking.
It is maids are milking. Why'd you Yeah, this.
I went to Catholic school. We sang this a lot.
Is it a religious hymn then?
No, I don't think it is. But I think they do when you go to a Catholic school. I mean, technically it is a Christmas carol. And I think when you go to a Catholic school, they get they know you get easily distracted and easily bored when all the God stuff comes up. So they like to make you sing as often as possible to just sort of keep you engaged.
Wow.
So I don't know. Oh, wait, let me think. I'm struggling with these last. I think the last one is Lords are Leaping. I know that because that's the first thing I said.
Actually, no, it's 10 Lords are Leaping.
Is it?
So there's an 11 and 12. According to this, yeah. According to Metro lyrics.
Well, no, wait a second, because Lords are Leaping is the last one. It's 12. We established that straight away.
No, last is Partridge in a Pear Tree.
So wait a second. So we got Partridge in a Pear Tree, turtle doves, French hens. What was it? Something birds.
4 cooling birds, but obviously you're currently doing them in the opposite order to what you'd be doing them in the song. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Geese are laying.
Yeah.
Swans are swimming.
Yeah.
Maids are milking.
Yeah. Then
drummers,
you're missing one.
Drumming?
Then 10. No, drummers drumming is last. So it's 12 drummers drumming. So you're missing...
Wait, I'm looking this up. I think you've got this wrong. I'm looking this up. I think you've got this wrong, Chris.
It's not. It's 12 drummers drumming, 11. But this is the second lyric sheet for this song.
You're incorrect. I've got it on Wikipedia here. There's different versions from different years. Drummers drumming's 9, mate. So fuck you. And Lords of Leaping is 12 in most versions. So
okay. Well, hold on. Can we stop with I've got it wrong? The two websites I've looked at this morning have got a different version. Then I don't think there's any need to be like
12 Days of Christmas.
I categorically. I didn't write the fucking thing.
I feel personally attacked here.
There's clearly multiple versions.
So it's 9 drummers drumming, 10 pipers piping, 11 ladies dancing, and 12 Lords of Leaping.
Well, the version I've got is 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 Lords of Leaping.
It
Either way,
it's mental either way, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
But looking at it down here, there's actually there's some different variations. So, like, French hens has in a couple of versions is fat hens. Turtle doves gets moved around in some versions of it.
Well, here's a question for you then, because you, like Jess and like I would have, all did 5 gold rings, but both versions, as I looked at this morning, have actually got 5 golden rings. So what is your might of factual knowledge Wikipedia saying for that? Is it saying gold? So
it's saying every version up until 1909, which is most of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it's like 20 to 30 published versions of this pre-1966 that all have it as gold rings. It was only in 1966 when it changed to golden rings.
Wow, you'd think that'd be the other way around, wouldn't you?
You would, actually, yeah. Yeah. And this one, actually, Chris, this one agrees with you in that this is probably the version you're going off then, because this is... Oh, wait, no, Lords of Leaping's still second to last. Ladies Dancing is now the last one. That's... Okay. This is mental. Basically, the problem is there isn't a definitive order for this. It looks like that's where we're going wrong. In general.
This is the flaw in the quiz.
Is that there are 30
I can
versions
see that
of
now.
this. Yeah, there are like... Have you been on the Wikipedia to look at this?
No.
You should later look at this. This is mental.
You should, after fucking up so badly, Chris, you should get yourself on Wikipedia and teach yourself a thing or two about the 12 days of Christmas.
No, I just mean you should marvel at how many variations of this song there are. 1780 is the first recorded version of this song, and there are 30 different-ish interpretations between then and 1966, which is the last time that it was, like, sort of, I guess, published in some way. Yeah, wow.
Oh, wow, blimey.
It's pretty mad, actually.
Yeah, in all those versions, they never added any extra days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they need to. I think, to be honest with you, if anything, they need to cut some days. Let's be honest.
There's a table.
What's that, sorry?
For those that were slightly eye rolling at Dan here. Actually, the Wikipedia has a table with the different versions, which is quite interesting.
That's what I'm trying to tell. That's exactly what I'm pointing out. It's insane.
Barnes 1882 changes partridge upon in a pear tree to the spring of a juniper tree. Randomly.
I also like that turtle doves and French hens get swapped round in that version. Also, like, one of them is forgotten by the singer, in quote marks, so...
Turtle doves seems to be the... French hen... Oh, no, turtle doves and French hens are round the wrong way. Fat hens. Turtle doves seems to be the most consistent. Collie birds, canary birds... that version. What is going on with? Oh no, Hughes 1864 is ducks quacking, fat hens, hares running, and so on. What does and so on mean?
Yeah, exactly. Did the person in question who wrote that one literally just end with and so on? This is great. This is mental. Some of them are shorter. One of them did the 10 days of Christmas by the look of it. He stopped too early. Like this is
madness. You know what's funny? So Dan and I use mics to record these, obviously, and they have memory cards in them. And I've got 2 hours and 50 minutes on the memory card. And before going to record, I was like, should I delete another file? No, we're obviously not going to spend 2 hours, 50 minutes talking about Jingle All The Way. And now I'm a little bit worried that we're going to end up with a 2 hour, 50
2 hours
podcast.
talking about the different versions of 12 Days of Christmas.
Because we haven't even got to Pizza Hut yet.
Yeah, well, we'll save that till last. That's a
Scotland version.
There's a oh man, there's a Scottish version?
Yeah, there's Scotland, but it's a similar like cumulative verse thing called the Yule Days.
There we go.
Wow.
Some of these are weird though. Like here's one: hounds are running, bears are beating, cocks are crowing, lords are leaping. That one's different. Well, here we go. Oh, this is interesting. So this was boys are singing, ladies dancing, asses racing, bulls are beating, bells are ringing.
What version is that?
I don't know. It's a sharp 1905, according to this. That's mental.
There you go, sharp 1980.
Wait, I've got an even weirder one. Barnes, 1882. Hares are running, bulls are roaring, men are meowing, dancers dancing, fiddlers are fiddling.
He's the Spring of the Juniper fella as well.
Oh yeah, that guy just really went off. He went rogue. Everyone was on board, and everyone had a pretty similar idea of what this song should be until Barnes came along in 1882, and they were all like, "That guy's a fucking rebel."
But like, what do you have to do to get on this? Do you know what I mean? Can we do a version and it would be like static 2020?
We should totally do that. Not now. It's but just at some point.
It's just really. I don't know what they've done to qualify.
Yeah, it's a really good point. We need to read through this article more thoroughly to find that out, I'd suspect. Here we go. The earliest known versions of the lyrics published in London under the title 12 Days of Christmas. It's part of a 1780 children's book. So maybe you have to have it published.
Right. On the very bottom, there's a parodies and other versions section, which includes things like the Muppets, and you know Jimmy Buffett. So why, you know what I mean? What makes
Oh yeah, Alvin and the Chipmunks did it and everything.
What makes Buffett a parody and fucking Bulls are Raging or whatever it is from some of bears
Sincerity,
are beating,
Chris.
cocks are crowing. Why does Cole get a credit? Cole 1900, yeah.
I'll tell you the answer,
Muppets
Chris. It's very
Frank
simple.
Sinatra.
It's very simple. Sincerity. If he sang asses racing, bulls are beating, boys are singing, whatever it was, with the full the intent of his heart to be that was it, he wanted that to be the new version of the song, then you know what? God damn it, Chris. Cole 1990, Sharp 1905. He's the guy. Let him have it.
I guess.
He went rogue. Look, I'm not being funny. I bet you all the other people in this list were looking at that guy like, what a fucking lunatic. But, oh dear.
Just ringing each other up like former presidents.
Yeah, so right. Cole from 1900 and Scott from 1892 are ringing each other going, have you seen what Sharp's done?
Exactly. You're all right, Barnes. Yeah, who's this? Oh, it's Henderson. Oh, Henderson, 1879. Yeah, how you doing, Barnesy? Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. You going to the reunion? Oh, yeah. When's the reunion? It's December, obviously. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, listen, I'm calling. Have you fucking seen what Kidson's done? What, Kidson 1891? Yeah. He's changed it to collie birds with an E. Yeah, but Stoko in 1889, he had collie birds with just a what? All he's done is added an E. Yeah, he's swanning around all over the place, acting like he reinvented the wheel. All he's done is added a fucking E.
What's amazing is, and I think we're going to feel stupid when this occurs to us. Well, it's just occurred to me now. These are probably not people, but publications. I mean, looking at them.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, I still like to think that the head of these publishing companies were calling each other about fucking Sharp, going, that guy's he's gone off piece. I don't know what we're doing with him. He's gone off the reservation. He's changed like 4 or 5 of these things. Right. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, Dan, what did you think of Jingle All The Way?
Oh God! So,
right, actually, before I just want to make a little warning, because usually we're like, we say watch the film first or assume people watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
I can't before we talk and spoil and because we have to talk about the scenes in the movie. I just want to say, because this was my experience a couple of years ago, if you think you remember Jingle All The Way and you watched it as a kid, don't assume you remember this movie and come into this. Rewatch this movie. I'm not saying we'll get to whether it's good or not. But there is a lot. I remember watching it a few years ago, and I'll just give you one spoiler, okay? I remember watching it a few years ago and going, wow, I didn't remember that Arnold Schwarzenegger punched a reindeer in this movie. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much mental shit in this movie that if you watched it 10, 15 years ago as a kid and think, it's fine, I remember it well enough to listen to this podcast, I encourage you to go back and watch it first.
Yeah, I think that was Nadia's experience, because I watched this movie quite a bit as a kid. This was one of my go-to Christmas films as a kid. I remember this scene by scene, and yesterday when we recorded a different podcast yesterday for context, and Chris turned to me, and I can't remember how it came up. We talked about the film. We brought up the fact we were both watching it last night at this roughly at the same time, and I said I don't think I'm going to be surprised. I think it's going to be absolutely mental and completely dumb, but quite fun. And I think that's exactly how I feel about it. Not to get too into my review already, because at the end of the day, I knew this movie inside out before I started. Yeah. Nadia, on the other hand, was like, I did not remember this movie at all. I thought this was like a sane movie. What is this nonsense? It's a live action cartoon.
Yeah, and those are the words. Those are literally the words I kept saying last night, because and if you view it as a live action cartoon, it's kind of glorious.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly, yeah. It's a live action cartoon, and we'll get into the details. But I've got, since this was your suggestion, Chris, my immediate curiosity goes to what is your history of the film? What is your Did you discover this a little bit later in life? Is this something you loved from being very young? What's the
No, I really loved it as a kid. It's probably not as it's not the snowman, and it's not, in a way, it's not the Santa Claus. Although there's a bizarre history with the Santa Claus, where my main thing about the Santa Claus is I remember watching it and loving it, and then I remember we were going to we watched a film in primary school every year. We as a school sat in the hall and watched a film, and it came up the Santa Claus, and people lost their fucking minds. But it turned out it was that older movie, The Santa Claus, which people also ended up really enjoying. But it's a
great film.
And probably Miracle on 34th Street, which is a real one of my sisters. But it's I'm
assuming the newer version of Miracle on 34th Street, not the classic, the black and white. I think it was the black and white, the original.
I don't know if it was black and white, but no, the newer version with the girl from Matilda and stuff.
Gotcha.
So but then it's probably I'd probably go the Snowman. Personally, the Snowman, the Santa Claus, and then maybe Jingle All The Way. If I can't count the Only Fools and Horses Christmas specials or TV Christmas, But I remember watching it and loving it. I remember watching it and introducing it to family members. I have a really vivid memory of that, and then being like, "What is going on?" But the big thing is so it was definitely a big childhood movie, and I remember watching it loads. I don't think I went back to it every year, but then it's been one that periodically, I'm pretty sure we watched this at uni in third year. And it's been a movie that I've gone back to as an adult, just as much really as the Santa Claus, and I've ended up watching it, and I love, last year we introduced 3 people to it who all hated it. Absolutely hated it.
We'll get to it, but Nadia wasn't thrilled with it either. I just want to point out that I've just double checked, and the original Miracle on 34th Street is 1947 and is indeed black and white.
Oh wow, fair play.
That's how old that is. I can't believe that. When I said it, and you corrected me. I went, yeah, you're right. That doesn't make sense. It was probably like from the 70s or the 60s or something.
I just didn't know. Yeah.
Like, when you said it, I immediately went, yeah, that was a stupid thing to say. Why would I say it? It doesn't make any sense. They're not going to, they're not going to have remade some film from the 40s. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I went through the exact logic that led you, obviously, and yeah, look, it's a black and white film from the 40s. Who knew?
Fair play.
Carry on.
No, it's fine. So in recent, and now I want to watch it every year. Like I kind of said that last year. There's 3 things, ideally 5, but there's Jingle All The Way. There's the BBC hours comedy drama from 2 years ago called Click and Collect, and definitely the Santa Claus. Ideally, the Santa Claus 2 and 3 as well. That I want to watch every year.
Why would you put yourself through the Santa Claus sequels? I don't look. I totally get the Santa Claus. I, as a kid, loved the Santa Claus. I stand by the original The Santa Claus. I think it's a really solid film. I think it's got a really well put together message. I like the jokes. I think Tim Allen gives a really good performance. I'm on board with the Santa Claus. We're gonna have to sit down and have a conversation about these sequels at some point, mate. Because there's something.
Well. Next year I'll be picking the Santa Claus, and you can decide whether we have that conversation by you picking part 2.
Yeah, all right.
They are nuts. But anyway, so it's almost become like it's very hard for me to honestly tell you how much was. You know what I mean? I didn't have it on video, but I feel like I watched it a lot as a kid. But equally, I've watched it a fair amount as an adult, and that might be part of my feelings for the film. And I do the thing is, for such a bad movie, I do genuinely enjoy it every single time. And I think this viewing, I really, as you did, when... If you view this as a live-action cartoon, it's a bucket load of fun.
If you go into it taking it too seriously, I think that's where you're gonna.
And we need to have a discussion about whether the movie itself knew that, or whether they genuinely were trying, which we'll get to after. So you watched it a lot as a kid as well.
Yeah, it was one of those interesting ones where it always seems to have been a part of the fabric of my childhood. But I actually don't recall when I first came across it, how I first came across it. I have no memory of that whatsoever, which is weird because often I do seem to have a lot of these films mean a lot to me. The reason we keep doing rewind reviews in the face of so few listeners is because is because quite frankly these films all meant a lot to me. The ones we're talking about, these aren't just like, oh, well, let's just talk about some old movies. We're talking about movies that are nostalgic to us in the truest sense, not just that general nostalgia that people have for things from a decade. These are movies that I grew up with, and when I say grew up with, I mean I watched them year on year, And the Jingle All The Way definitely falls into that category, but weirdly, I don't have any memory at all about how I discovered it or first saw it. I assume, like everyone else, I saw the trailer, that iconic trailer. If anyone doesn't remember, it's brilliant. There's a trailer. It's online. I watched it yesterday. It's like it's Arnold. It's like his feet and glimpses of Arnold, and it's like he's taken down the mob. He's traveled through time to assassinate someone. It's like all of Arnold's actual movies, and now he's gonna take on his greatest challenge yet. Buying a Christmas toy. He's like, what? Ah! Then the trailer starts.
I feel like we rented it, or maybe I feel like eventually I had a taped copy from the TV. From the TV.
I don't think I ever bought this movie on any format. No. I think I taped this off TV after having seen it as a rental. Almost certainly. But I think it's a great movie. It's so insane. I understand exactly why young me committed most of the movie to memory, because I really did know exactly what I was getting into, and it did everything I was expecting it to and waiting for it to do. And I just think this is one of those movies that you really just, I think it's a mindset thing. I think this is a movie that you, depending on what your mindset is when you go into watching it, and believe me when I say there's no wrong or right here. You are completely right to tell me this movie is dumb and insane and pointless. Yes, correct. Like no one who dislikes this movie is wrong. What I would say though is if you just like relax a bit, there is fun to be had here, and quite a lot of it, in my opinion.
And some genuinely amusing jokes. Like, there's actually some of the humour has quite a modern sensibility, which is a sentence taken more seriously than anyone ever has about this movie before. But like the joke I always remember, and the joke I genuinely consider to be quite funny. But again, you could always also trace back like a logic flaw. Is basically the mailman Sinbad, who we will no doubt talk about more. He gets his way out of a situation by faking that he's got a bomb in a package.
I was about to say, and I've got a moment I want to pick out too, and I think we're picking out the same moment. Carry on.
And then he does it a second time, and he gets away and he manages to escape and run away. And the guy picks up the package and he's like, "It's just a mail package," and then that blows up. And the logic flaw is the fact that it is an explosion big enough to see like fire and explosions from the window and make the building shake, and yet not kill anyone. The guy's just comedically burned. But the bit that always makes me laugh is it then cuts back to Sinbad, and he goes, "That was an actual bomb. This is a sick world we're living in."
I wrote the exact quote down. It's just a sick world we're living in. Sick people.
It's just
and it's his delivery. He's appalled at these people putting bombs in the mail, despite the fact he's just like threatened people with mail bombs twice. Right. Well, let's take a step back for a second though, and just say very briefly what this is about for anyone who is deciding to churn on with this, even though I'm going to say right now before we go into the plot. I recommend you should definitely check this out and check it out with all what we've just said in mind. Yeah. Just go with the insanity. You'll have a good time. But to very quickly recap the plot, Arnold Schwarzenegger is playing a terrible actor, who is then playing Howard Langston, a role probably. Well, I know this factually, but I would have said this prior to knowing that factually. A role probably originally designed for Tim Allen. Which is true. He's basically a work obsessed dad, who doesn't get to spend too much time with his kid. Misses his kid's karate tournament on like the day before Christmas Eve, so 23rd, and says he's going to make it up to him by getting him whatever he wants for Christmas, and he wants this Turbo Man toy. And it turns out that he was supposed to have bought that weeks ago. His wife had already asked him. And Turbo Man, this doll, as he calls it, is the hottest selling toy of the year by a million miles. And if you didn't get it a couple months ago, there's basically not one left in the city. So he spends Christmas Eve getting into all sorts of hijinks to try and acquire one, culminating in one of the most absurd end sequences to a movie of this nature I've ever seen. Because what this movie does is it escalates the insanity by a degree of one every few minutes until the end when someone just leant on the dial and knocked it about 1,000 to the left. Because the jump from the reindeer in the house sequence to the final Turbo Man parade sequence when it becomes a superhero movie is something I could not. I mean, I honestly maybe get a doctor's advice before you see this movie from the whiplash you might receive with that last sequence.
I remember it being on one Christmas with family, and I remember the kids were watching it, but the adults really weren't. And they didn't phrase it like this, but in my mind, it's become one of them glancing back to the TV at the end and just going, "What the fuck's going on?"
Yeah, it's quite a leap. His attempts to get this toy lead to one of the most insane sequences of a movie ever. It's like they accidentally it's like two interns in at 20th Century Fox were walking down a corridor, each with a script in their hands, and they bump into each other, and the scripts go flying, and the pages get a bit mushed up. So the final act of a superhero movie latches to this sort of Tim Allen comedy about getting a toy at Christmas, and they both scribbled up the scripts. Maybe their hands touched briefly, and we had a sort of like a sweet little moment. Maybe they were destined for each other. We'll never know. They then went back to their respective things. This is the script. So now there's a superhero movie that ends with a guy giving a kid a toy.
The thing is, though, because the action and the execution is batshit crazy.
Yes, it is.
And doesn't make sense.
No,
but
so little of this movie makes sense. You can't ask questions watching this movie because you'll just frustrate yourself.
but the story beats of it, the notion of actually he becomes the hero, and at the end the kid sweetly gives away the toy. And he is Turbo Man. The story beats of it.
You ask no questions though, because that kid just literally risked his life to keep that toy out of that guy's hands. To 5 minutes later, give it to him. You know what you could have done?
No.
You could have just given it to him.
And you think Arnold Schwarzenegger would be like, "Fucking no, you're not giving up that toy." For starters, it's a special edition, so it'll probably be worth quite a bit of money. So there are.
It won't be worth that much money, Chris. It's already out of the box, which I was upset by.
That's true, actually. So, execution, batshit crazy. But the story beats of it, the character beats of it, as an idea, it's very logical.
So the very surface level character arc of the movie for all the main characters is tracks at a reasonably they've thought them through.
Only really Arnold. Like there's a lot of
That's a good point. Because his wife's arc makes no sense. I don't understand. I
don't even think it's
you dressed up in a stupid suit and saved our son. I guess our marriage isn't on the rocks anymore.
I know. The Honest trailer pointed this out. She's basically just there to say Howard. And it's not. The movie doesn't bode
and she's there to say Howard, and then at the end imply, "Hey, can you take that Turbo Man suit home?"
Yeah.
Which she doesn't outright say because it is a kids movie, but she's eye fucking him the whole time. Through that scene.
What's the test? There's the test, isn't it?
The Bechdel test.
Yeah, exactly. And isn't it like how many scenes feature two women talking to each other that are not talking about men?
Oh yeah, this fails the Bechdel test so hard.
Yeah, I don't think this film even has another woman in it, does it?
No,
apart from the mum of the kid.
Well, it kind of does. It has in the opening scene, his secretary, who seems to be trying to help a very helpless man.
Talking about him, yeah. So it fails it all over the place, but yeah, it's so it's only the arc of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what we were saying. But
yeah,
there is some thought into that at least. It's just batshit crazy. So let's talk about the end. Did they know it's a live action cartoon, or is the live action cartoon thing helped by the way the special effects look now, but actually at the time in 1996 or whatever it was, that would have looked quite good, and therefore, do you know what I mean? Is that live action cartoon thing enhanced by the poor special effects of the time?
Honestly, the live action cartoon thing to me actually doesn't come from the special effects. It comes from the sound effects and the choices they make in terms of what physically is happening on screen. So
the bit where he flies into the wall?
Yeah, and it goes doing, or the bit where he picks up one of those little guys and throws them at the others, and it makes a bowling ball knocking over Skittles sound. Bet you didn't notice that sound effect, did you? So look, I think this was always kind of being looked at that way, to a little bit, but I maybe not for the reasons that seem nice now. I mean, to us now, it's like, what a novel idea, a live action cartoon. Lots of weird slapstick comedy with over the top sound effects. Arnold Schwarzenegger just mugging the camera the whole time. It's great. That's all really good, but the more cynical part of my brain tells me that when they sat down to write this movie, they were just like, let's make something really dumb because kids. Not something kind of weird and subversive and also actually kind of clever because it's a live action cartoon, and that how often does that happen? The world that this movie exists in is so hyper real.
Yes.
And so there's part of me goes, that's actually quite clever, and then the cynical part of me goes, it's actually lazy and dumb. Because what they've done, I think what's actually happened, and I could be wrong, obviously we don't know, you never know the intent of the writer, but if I was putting money on it, I would say that all the dumb shit in this movie is born out of them just being lazy with the script. Like, is that easier to do? Yeah. Is it completely insane and makes barely any sense? Yeah. But kids will find it funny.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean? Like this movie, bends for no man and no logic. So I would love to tell you that these writers were super on it. But I don't think they were. Yeah,
because even you're right about that hyper-real thing. Because even like the film, the scene in the shops, where it's a bingo to win a toy and everyone's fighting. The fact that even if you look at the diner scene, like the fact that they're smashing the place up and having this massive fight, and the guy who owns the diner is just like, fellas, the radio station's just 2 blocks away, and not like, what the fuck are you two doing?
Can we talk about the information and how it's passed to the character of this movie? This is why I think it may be laziness. I find it funny, and it almost feels like an intentional joke, but this is where I start to think maybe it's just laziness. It's like a guy runs past them at one point going, there's Turbo Man's at this store! Unprompted, out of nowhere, not a character. Just the other two characters are having a conversation, and this random passerby yells, "They've just had a late delivery of Turbo Man's at such a store." All the relevant information. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, can we maybe question there's another one that's like, where is it? There's like 2 or 3 moments I noted down where like weird information just came to them, but I can't think. I've not looked through my notes, but that to me, does that not say to you like the convenience of that is remarkable?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of like we talked on our other podcast analyzing Avatar a lot recently about the hand of the writer, and you can feel the hand of the writer here in numerous cases. But
I laughed at it. When a random passerby just starts running through the street yelling about a toy shop getting a delivery.
Yeah. Because when that happened, I was trying to work out who he was talking to. Because I was like, is he talking to whoever's in his car? Is he talking because he's picked up that they're looking for the doll, so he's talking to them? Like, who is that character actually speaking to in that moment?
Yeah, and that sort of shit is happening left, right, and center in this fucking movie. It's all over the place, and again, it adds to this hyper real tone. But that might actually just be a writer that went, I need them to find out about the toy at the store. All right, a guy runs past yelling about it. Like it could actually be the result of a writer that just had no respect whatsoever for children's intelligence, so he wrote the dumbest movie possible. Yeah. Which means us praising it and recommending it is kind of an accident that this works. It's a bit like Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, and we'll talk about this at some point. This will definitely come up on this podcast, but I'm convinced Donnie Darko was an accident. Because I think what happened was this guy made a really, really laborious movie about all the subject matter of Donnie Darko, and the studio went, no, this is insane. We're going to chop your movie to pieces. And they pulled out all of the insane stuff that made it make, in quote marks, sense. And what you were left with is this really brilliantly sort of vague film where you've got to try and put the pieces together in your head. You've just got to try and suss it out. And that's kind of what's so clever about Donnie Darko, is how little information it gives you. You're left to do that. But when the director put out the director's cut, which is what he wanted to do originally, and it's terrible, and it over-explains everything, and the answers aren't that satisfying.
Over-explained is the key word to describe that.
Yeah, and the answers aren't that satisfying. You go, oh shit, the original movie being so intriguing and so exciting was an accident. So I think this is an accident. I don't think that the intent was here. Looking at some of the details here, every time I can point to an insane thing that happens, I can also think of a reason a writer might just out of laziness choose to do that for simplicity's sake.
It does make it benefit in a modern day context, because in a modern day context it would be deliberate.
Yes. This is a movie that's aged really well, and it shouldn't have. It absolutely shouldn't have aged well. At one point, let's just should we talk about the cabal of Santas for a second? And the ninja Santa with candy cane nunchucks? Like, what is this?
Sorry, I sneezed, so I was just getting a tissue. Is that the bit that really... Because that's the bit that made my friend lose his mind. Is that the bit that really got Nadia?
I mean, no, she was done like so early in this movie for different reasons. Shall I read you the quote from Nadia that I wrote down? This is what Nadia says. Everyone is terrible. They all need a punch, except Sinbad, and all of these children are very ugly.
Wow, Jesus.
And I said to her, do you want me to take the ugly children part off that? And she went, no, I don't want them thinking they're not.
I mean, I think that Jake, what's his name, has taken enough abuse in his time, Nadia.
I think so too.
Without you needing to call him ugly. But anyway, also Sinbad's character is not a nice person.
Yeah, but I think there's a weird honesty to Sinbad's character. Like he never makes no bones about the fact that he's gonna do what he can to get ahead for his son. Whereas Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in this Howard, like, morally is pretending to, like, be doing the right thing, but is actually at one point trying to steal this very toy from a neighbour's child, which is reprehensible on a different level.
That is again an element that we do need to go back to the Santa Brawl, because the Santa Brawl as an adult is like one of the key things that I kept forgetting, and then like not now so much that I watch it every year, but like I remember watching it a few years ago and being like, fucking hell, I don't remember this. This is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, the Santa Brawl always stuck out. I was waiting, bated breath, just like Santa Brawl's coming up. Nadia does not remember this movie. He's about to have a fight with a secret cabal of criminal Santas selling dodgy toys out of a bloody warehouse. I'm so in for this.
We need to come back to that, but just while we're on, like... I'm having so much fun. Just while we're on like Howard's character stuff, what backs up?
Sorry,
what backs up the?
Can I just clarify? Did you do quote marks around character stuff?
What backs up what you're saying about it being an accident is there's like 4 or 5 different points in this film and in this script where it looks like he's realised the error of his ways and is going to change his mind, and then he just doesn't. Like, there's the bit where he's getting pissed with the reindeer. There's the bit in the diner where he sees his son, like, in Sinbad's costume.
We need to break that moment down as well. I'll come back to that. That moment is insane. Yeah, carry on.
So there's just loads of moments where you think he's realised that he just needs to be there, and then he just gets distracted by the hunt for this toy again. But anyway, the Santa Brawl, it's just incredible.
It is. I mean, it's for those who don't remember. He basically he's in the store. He's just failed to get the little ball for the child. Everyone's just accused him of being a pervert, because he was chasing this child around a bingo ball. This movie is so hard to explain.
But not only that, like, because he runs away from all the women, and then sees a Santa who, for all intents and purposes, appears to be only a few meters away from where he's just been pelted by women, and just stops and has a chat with them. And I'm like, oh, I guess is the store no longer looking for the man who was beating up a child? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah. I mean, all these women are hitting him, calling him a pervert. No one calls the police. Like, no one does anything. Exactly. And then he just walks away, like, completely fine. So then he approaches this Santa and he's like, psst, here, you're looking for a Turbo Man. We got one. And then it's got this amazing... Oh, this is just a moment of such good comedy, where they show him a picture and it's the... I can't even say it. It's the elf holding up the Polaroid of his elf holding a Turbo Man with the day's paper.
Amazing.
Like it's a hostage movie, but also the Turbo Man is not in the packaging at all. It's you know, sign that this might be dodgy, number one, right? So they're like, yeah, we got Turbo Man. You know, come with us. So they take him to this warehouse where there seems to be this like, I mean, I use the word cabal. Like it's like a secret organization, an underworld of Christmas Santas from different stores, I guess, that are like gathered together and are just like basically doing selling a bunch of dodgy toys to desperate parents for hiked up prices. And Arnold's one is it's the one you give him. It doesn't speak English for a start, and then it's just at first you think, oh, so it's just a foreign language one, and that's why they've got it. Which isn't the end of the world, but like I can see why Arnold's a little bit peeved. But then he goes to open the box rather roughly, because if it was the real deal, that'd be he's just trashed the present. But anyway, and it just literally crumbles into 1,000 pieces. So he's like, "Give me my money back." They're like, "Yeah, no take backsies." So he just like starts fighting these Santas, but it's like a scene from like a James Bond movie where they're all coming at him one at a time, but there's hundreds of them, and there's different sort of. There's different versions of Santa. So
I'm pretty sure it directly inspired the Agent Smith scene in The Matrix Reloaded. I'm pretty sure that was the direct inspiration.
They do a dog pile at the end, which is very Agent Smith. So they all sort of stand around with this, like all these different Santas are running at him and he's beating them up. And there's a really giant one played by the WWE's or WF at the time, WWF's Big Show, who I recognised this time round and didn't recognise as a kid, despite at the time as a kid watching wrestling and now not watching wrestling. Somehow this was the viewing. I went, hey, that's the Big Show. Which is weird. I mean, he's wearing full Santa garb, including the white eyebrows, which I thought was fun. A little cameo from Vern Troyer, Mini-Me fame. This is pre-Mini-Me, I guess. Or they'd probably made a big deal. He's not even credited, apparently, which is a real shame.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then there's like a ninja Santa with nunchucks made of candy canes. I mean, it's just... You imagine working in the props department for this movie. What do you need? All right, well, we need a big red suit. It's kind of like the Flash, but not really. He's got a rocket pack. Okay. Big sort of pink dog thing. Okay. Really? Yeah. We're going to stick Curtis Armstrong in that. Okay. And then I want some nunchucks, please. Would you... Okay, we've already got nunchucks. Would you get some nunchucks? No. Can these nunchucks look like candy canes? They can, but this is for a movie, right? This isn't some weird sex thing, is it? And it's just the movie is. I mean, it's. I'm so glad we told people to watch this before we start talking about it, because I mean we are just at this point pointing at the movie and rather than reviewing it, because there's so little to say in review. But it is just
in so many ways that's all you can do. So let's because I agree with you. The Santa scene is just batshit crazy. Although again, I do quite like the way he gets out of it, like just picking up a fake. I mean, we're just naming parts of the movie, but just picking up a fake police badge and pretending he's
I call that like I think that's kind of like that was a real trend in the 90s. I call that the Axel Foley, where Eddie Murphy in the Beverly Hills Cop films, which are going to come up on this at some point. Let me fucking tell you, I love the Beverly Hills Cop films, particularly
I've never seen
Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 3 are like two of my favourite movies from my youth. 2 I always thought was just like fine, but the third one is insane. But he would often just basically ad-lib Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley, as the lead character of those movies. These big, insane speeches to convince people of things. So in the first, I think it's the first one, when he gets to Beverly Hills and he has nowhere to stay, he finds all these people doing construction on a house, and he basically walks up to the foreman, pretends to be a representative of the family that are having the house done up, who are currently away while the house is being done up, and says they're doing it all wrong. Has he not got the new instructions? The house is supposed to be round. They're going to have to stop construction and come back to this once they've figured it all out. And then they leave, and then he just lives in that house.
What, for the entire movie?
For the entire movie.
Does the family come back at the end?
I can't remember that, but yeah, it's that thing of Eddie Murphy just like convincing someone of something so unlikely, but doing such a convincing the story is complete nonsense, obviously nonsense, but he like acts so convincingly and with such conviction that it convinces everyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's exactly what Arnold does here. He's so convincingly an annoyed police... It's the only bit of acting he does in the movie, actually, if I'm being honest with you. He's so convincingly a police chief in this moment that they believe him. And I even go, I get it. He's coming across like a police chief. And sort of is like, I've been working on this bust for years. This is the sloppiest thing I've ever seen. And then he walks out like, phew, glad that worked. But it is mental.
Shall we, Dan, talk about Jake Lloyd, in a postman's outfit, swigging whiskey in a diner?
You know what's really bad about watching this movie back is I can't decide who I think is a worse actor, if it's Arnold or Jake. And Jake has an excuse; he's a child, right? Children.
I don't think Jake's that bad in this, to be honest.
He's pretty bad.
I think he's worse, but I've not been, because there are moments where I'm like, well, that took a turn, but I don't think he's written well.
Well, no one's written well. I don't know. That can't be an expectation in this movie. But both him and Arnold are just trading worst actor award for this one, scene to scene. I mean, could we even like? He's just so unconvincing as a human. Both of them, to be honest with you, at all times. It's amazing these two people are in this movie. It's really bad. So me and Nadia are very fond of a famously bad movie called The Room, and it has this guy in it called Tommy Wiseau, and he's not so much acting as he is just like awkwardly repeating the dialogue, and it's one of the worst performances ever committed to film ever. It's I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Like, it's that. Like, he's just... and honestly, there is a real Tommy Wiseau-ness to Arnold's performance in this movie. Because the reason he was a good Terminator is because he's not a convincing human being. And that is the problem. When you give him the average Joe role, it's just utterly unconvincing. Yeah. In every scene, except maybe the one where he's pretending to be the police chief. Because yelling and stuff just seems to work okay with him.
Yeah,
but the rest of it, when he's talking to when he goes in, so this is, I mean, if we're going to talk about a moment of horrible acting, the moment he goes in early in the movie after he's missed the karate practice, and he's trying to be like light-hearted, funny dad to get his son back, and Jake's acting annoyed at his dad. It's painful.
I find it very hard to judge that scene, Dan, because I was distracted by. They do a really good job of setting up that this kid is obsessed with Turbo Man, and Turbo Man in his life, and yet there's a random massive poster of Captain America above his bed.
It's a mural. The wall is the whole wall, the entire wall is painted Marvel. The Hulk is on the other side.
So I was very distracted by that to judge the acting. That is an example where the character really takes a turn and suddenly forgives his dad. But then maybe that's kids. I don't know. Look, it's not the best child performance I've ever seen in my life, but I think it's a more flawed performance.
He gets a pass. He's a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Phantom Menace is worse.
It is.
He's a kid, so you forgive both, in my opinion.
It's categorically a terrible performance, but it doesn't matter for Jake because he's a kid. You can't judge a kid for kid acting. Kid acting is iffy in most movies, even when the adult acting around them is extremely good, like brilliant. But Arnold is fucking just, oh dear Lord, this whole movie. The only stuff that Arnold really nails in this movie is the physical comedy. The scene when he punches the cardboard cutout of Turbo Man, and then he turns around and it sort of bounces back and hits him, so he loses his temper and tears it in half, is amazing. His acting in that scene is great.
I think the best piece of acting in the movie is clear, and it's this, Dan. And we are just naming parts of the movie now. I'm so sorry, but I'm having a great time if that helps, listeners. This is the best bit of acting in the whole film. Damn you, Howard.
Yeah. Oh, poor Rita Wilson. She's also not great in this. To be honest with you, there are only two actors nailing it in this movie, and one of them gets a really hard time for this movie, which baffles me because he's like the best thing about it. We'll come back to him, but Sinbad is amazing in this movie. Sinbad's
great in this movie.
It's incredible, and he gets so much stick, and I don't know why. I really don't know why. And also, obviously, the late, the great.
Phil Hartman.
Hartman. Thank you. I nearly said Troy McClure, his Simpsons character. Phil Hartman, obviously, just absolutely slimy as anything, utterly dislikable, but because that's the intent. It's just incredible. Absolutely, he's amazing in this movie. So yeah, Phil Hartman and Sinbad are both just stunning in this film, and both deserve it. But
do you think that's because? Do you think that's because they are, whether deliberate or not, they are written as caricatures and over the top, and that's kind of their main thrust? But even actually, you know what? I say that. But even Sinbad's dramatic bit in the diner, it's not a bad performance, I don't think.
No,
again, the script
best
isn't
performance
brilliant.
in the movie.
The script isn't brilliant, but he does a really good job. Phil Hartman's character is just written to be like he's like just
honestly,
just
I think the reason those two stand out is because they're the only two on this set that knew what they were making.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think they're the only two people with comedic sensibilities that understood the movie was bonkers and they were going to chew the scenery on purpose, and made the movie so much more fun for it. Arnold, on the other hand, is desperately trying to do acting, and it's really not working.
In Rita Wilson's defense, she's never given any comedy. Like she's
never given anything. That poor woman. Like I'm sure
Rita
she's a capable actress, but
yeah, that's entirely the script's fault with Rita Wilson, in my opinion.
I think that's true.
They give her nothing interesting to do. Sinbad, I think Sinbad. I think you're absolutely right. Sinbad and Phil Hartman knew the movie they were in, and I think Sinbad in this movie, it's just become easy. Like, he gets a lot of criticism in general, and I think it's just become easy to throw what is considered by everyone but Dan and I, it seems, to be a bad movie at him, you know?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, a lot of people sort of cite him as being, like, one of the worst things about this movie. Oh, this movie's great, but then Sinbad keeps showing up. And it's like, no, he's the best thing about this movie by a long way. Like, everything he says and does, which, by the way, and I want to make sure this is clear, it's reported that he improvised a huge amount of his dialogue in this movie. A huge amount of his dialogue in this movie.
He's got some good stuff in this movie.
He's got so much good stuff in this movie. I really don't get it. I think he's, I think he's amazing in this film.
No one cares about you, Buster.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's everything he says and does in this movie totally entertained me. I'm really on board with Sinbad. But we should go back to the diner scene, because I just want to express my my amusement, my appalled shock, and just generally, like, where was the taste? Like, just have a little bit of decency. to have Howard fear that his son is going to turn out badly because of this, and then the comparison you make is that he fears his son will become Sinbad. Just makes Howard even more villainous, in my opinion. He is not the hero of this movie. He turns around and instead of sitting next to Sinbad in the diner, it's suddenly Jake Lloyd in Sinbad, like a little mini version of Sinbad's outfit, which, by the way, is categorically adorable. But it just is. He is holding the fucking booze, the like bourbon or whatever it is they've been nipping into their coffee, and just drinking from the bottle like, "It's to you, Dad," or whatever. And holy shit, is that disturbing? I don't know. I didn't know whether to laugh, whether to cry, whether to go, "Oh, he's got a little one of them hats on." It's amazing.
I think it's Jake's best acting in the movie, though.
It is. No, it is. It's his best line in the whole movie. It absolutely is. It without question. He understood that, I guess. Maybe that's because they gave him more to do. They were like, "Listen, we've got to pretend to be drunk." He's like, "Oh, I think I could do that." Like, I'll get my teeth into that role instead of just whining at his dad.
The key thing about that moment for me is Howard's reaction to it is like, and you go, right, he's realised that it's more important that he's just a dad. And that's the face Arnold gives. And then it's immediately followed by, I gotta find that doll. It's like, no, you don't. That's not what you should be learning. Stop learning the wrong
lesson, Arnold. Yeah. To be fair, the movie would end about half an hour too early if he'd just learned his lesson there.
It's a weird scene. It doesn't. It is disturbing. Yeah.
And also, I don't know what it says about Howard that like what he's most scared of is his son becoming Sinbad, who is just a disgruntled post worker. Like, he's not as much of a villain as this movie makes him out to be. I don't think.
No. I think the real villain is the cop trying to stop Arnold every step of the way.
Let's talk about the cop. So there's this recurring again, and again, this is just that sort of like Looney Tunes logic.
Yeah,
right?
It's classic 90s comedy. This
it's classic 90s cartoon comedy. I feel like, the idea that he basically at the beginning of the movie he gets pulled over by this slightly rude police officer who doesn't take shit from no one, who is doing his job, but he's a bit grumpy about it. And basically, Arnold's like, oh, I'm sorry if I was speeding, but I'm just trying to get to my kid's karate class. And the guy quite maliciously, like, makes him do as many, like, it takes him through as many procedures as he can to delay him. And that's why Arnold misses the karate tournament, other than also having left late to start with, to need to go that fast. So I'm not trying to take blame off Howard in this scene. It's definitely his fault. But then the whole movie becomes a series of bumping into this same fucking cop wherever he goes and just ruining his day. He breaks his bike, he covers him in hot coffee, he gets him blown up with a mail bomb, like he makes him run into a bus, and then at the end of the movie, when Arnold has saved the day in the Turbo Man outfit, the payoff is the cop says, "We need a guy like you on the force," to his back, and then he turns around and he can clearly see it's the guy that's been ruining his day. And he's just like, "Thank you, officer, I'll keep that in mind." And he gives him a salute, and the cop just looks dumbfounded. But that cop is an absolute bastard, isn't he?
That cop, that's a good performance as well, actually. You feel like that guy knew the movie he was in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did. You're right. Absolutely. He is another good example. He knew it was a dumb thing. But man, that character...
This has been a fun episode, but I honestly think this may be one of our worst reviews. Because it's
not a review, we're just breaking down the different scenes. And we haven't even talked about... Well, first of all, I've written this in my notes, but I just want to put... Sinbad's commitment to this movie is also commendable. Like, he is all in on this character. I just want to make that point. Like, not only is it a good performance, but it's one of the most committed performances I've ever seen. But the thing I wanted to put, we've not even talked about the most memeable moment of the movie. One of the most famous moments from this movie. Put that cookie down! Like, that line, in or out of context, is insane. It's such an overreaction.
No. Again, I think that they build up well. It starts when he gets home and he sees him putting up the lights. I felt Arnold's anger when he put up the tree. I think actually, right, to try and do some actual analysis, I think that is one element of the story that isn't actually paid off, because whilst I did enjoy Ted being like, when his son's like, his dad is Turbo Man, he's like, let's get out of here. Like, actually, we don't see Howard get that moment with... Do you know what I mean? Ted is scared of him, but it's not like he, hits him from the kiss, or not that I necessarily want there to be more violence in this film. There's a fair amount of it as it is, but do you know what I mean? Like, I think they could have wrapped up Ted versus Howard a bit neater.
Wouldn't it have been... I think it might have been fun if, like, during that final parade sequence, Ted had shown up, seen the situation between Sinbad and Arnold in the Turbo Man and whatever the villain's called outfits, seen Jake Lloyd's character, whose name I keep forgetting. What's his name? What's his kid's name? He yells at all movie. That's just going to annoy me because he yells at all movie, and why would?
Jamie.
Yeah.
It's Jamie, isn't it?
Jamie. Yeah, okay, got it. Just got to say it in Arnold's voice, and I got it. Put that cookie down. Sorry. What they could have done, I think, that might have resolved that, and correct me if you think this doesn't work, is if Howard had seen, not Howard, sorry, if Ted had seen upset Rita Wilson because Jamie is in trouble, and he'd gone, I can save him, and run into the situation, and then just got absolutely immediately knocked on his ass in some embarrassing way.
Yeah.
Because
I think it needs that, because it doesn't make much sense. I know he gets, is it the eggnog or something all over him?
Yes.
But like, he's gone for like the entirety of the action sequence at the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, what has he just been? If he's been in the car cleaning himself up, he's not done a very good job because he's still covered in eggnog. So has he just been sat in the car sulking for the last 20 minutes? Like,
which is in its own way, that is quite also dark. The idea that he just sat in the car the whole time, not even bothering to clean up the eggnog, contemplating his life. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. Because he doesn't know that Ted sort of saw them in the car. He doesn't, like, why is he suddenly scared of, well, I suppose maybe he thinks that his wife told him, maybe. But yeah, I think you're right. That resolution and seeing Ted, get his comeuppance. But then again, I suppose he does get his comeuppance, and I suppose that is a moment for Rita Wilson's character, at least.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they could have maybe done more with that. I do enjoy, my favourite Ted thing is, where's your mother? She's outside petting Ted. What?
Yeah, that's my next note. That's literally my next note. So they have this this is probably the only actually intentionally well executed joke of the whole movie. But rather than just stuff that happened because the movie's insane.
Dude, we've not even really talked about the reindeer getting punched yet. There's so much in this movie.
This movie is so packed. But basically, the setup is they've decided to name. So Ted, the neighbor, is. We haven't really talked about Ted properly, but the premise of Ted is that he's recently divorced and he's become like the most eligible bachelor in the town. He's like acts on the surface like perfect dad, so involved, so there for everyone. You know, he's making cookies, he's coming to the kids' recitals and filming them. He's like basically being perfect mommy dad, which is like this old idea. And like all the various housewives in the town are like totally into him, but they're no challenge for him. So all he's interested in is Rita, who does not give a shit about him at all. I say Rita. I don't think her name is actually Rita. That's the actress, Rita Wilson. I don't know what the actor. I can't remember what the character's called.
I'll look it up, Dan. The character
Beautiful.
is called, I mean, I've disrupted it now, Liz.
So all he cares about is Liz. And all so the whole movie he spends sort of embedding himself into every element awkwardly of Liz's life. But he's to be the perfect dad. He's got his son, but really he's just bought it to like, or acquired it to like impress the rest of the town. And he's got his son to bring a little bit of Christmas magic into his son's life. He brings a genuine reindeer into the town, into his house essentially, and they name him Ted. The kid names him Ted after his dad, and Liz is at the house petting it. So when Jake Lloyd's character Jamie is on the phone to Howard, he's like, "Put your mother on the phone." And Jamie's like, "Oh, I can't. She's next door petting Ted." Which makes perfect sense to the kid, but it just sounds horrendous to poor Howard, and it's genuinely one of the best executed jokes in the whole damn movie. But it then also leads to one of my favorite unintentional jokes, which is that Jamie starts yelling at his dad for like not being there, and when the kid puts down the phone, she just knows it's Howard. Like it could have been anyone. That's
the damn you, Howard. Bro.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again terrible acting. Not her fault in that case, but yeah.
So let's talk about, because this then ultimately leads in another moment where you think Howard has seen the error of his ways, and when he goes to steal Turbo Man from Ted's son, and then realizes he shouldn't and goes to put it back, and you think he's going to be a good person, and ultimately he punches a reindeer. Well,
I know. See, I a little bit disagree with you on this one, because I don't think this is another example of him not learning his lesson. I think this is where he learns the lesson. But the problem then is when he goes to be there for Jamie, goes to the parade.
True. Yeah.
That's when he gets wrapped up in the whole accidentally Turbo Man thing because he meets the cop, right? And the cop diverts him. So to be fair to the movie, and I mean, dear Lord, I feel like that's I don't think there is really any being fair to this movie. It's a lot of fun, but it is utterly insane. Like, by many metrics, this is a bad movie. but I think that is the point he does learn the lesson. That is the end of the second act downturn that really makes the character realise the error of his ways. It's just they then contrive ways for the the insanity to continue, throughout the final act of the movie. They're a bit more, so what the moment Chris is referring to is the moment he goes into the house to steal from under the other kid's tree, realises it's a horrible thing to do, goes to put it back, then gets into a fight with a reindeer, nearly sets the house on fire, kicks the thing that's on fire through the window into the courtyard outside of their house where everyone is. They see him, and when they go in, he's still holding the toy he was putting back, but ultimately stealing. And it's like his low point of the movie where where everyone's basically abandoned him because it's become clear he was trying to steal the toy because he didn't have it. His wife's gets mad at him. And that's when I think he realizes the error of his ways. But dear Lord.
That's fair. And then how, like anyone that's realized the error of his ways, he sits and gets pissed with a donkey, with a reindeer. Sorry.
Yeah. Because at that point he thinks he's blown it, right? Because even his wife has now walked off with Ted. So I sort of see it, but yeah. So he punches the reindeer, and the next time we see them, they're sort of having a drink in the backyard together. It's pretty mental.
It's amazing, and the donkey randomly is making noises like it's a human. Like the donkey, when it gets punched. Is it donkey or a reindeer?
It's a reindeer. I don't know why you suddenly switched to donkey.
I don't know. The reindeer is just it's amazing. It's
pretty insane.
It's quite the sequence. But do you think, trying to, again, some deeper analysis, do you think that bit's, there used to be a lot of, not a lot, but there was a fair amount of, I've seen other things where animals get, hit and stuff like that. Do you think that's aged particularly badly? Do you think animal rights people, would be a bit pissed off at that?
I mean, it's a puppet, so...
No, I'm not I'm not suggesting they actually punched a reindeer. I just mean in the film it's a real reindeer. Do you think that has aged poorly? Is what I'm saying.
No,
I'm not saying, Dan. Do you think it's bad that they got a real reindeer and let the Terminator punch it?
I think for my money, and I could be wrong, but I don't think animal cruelty people have ever pulled up fictional cruelty.
Right.
If it's in aid of a story or comedy or a potentially villainous character, which he is in that moment, right? That's his down moment. That's when he's being a bad person. The movie doesn't glorify what he's doing or make what he's doing seem like a good thing to be doing. It pretty much makes him look like an arsehole. I think the animal cruelty people tend to get frustrated or start causing trouble when there was on-set shenanigans that led to animals being distressed or hurt. So there was a movie, I can't remember what it was called now, but there was a movie reasonably recently where there was a dog was a central part of the movie, and at one point it went into the water to fetch the character had fallen into a river or something, and the dog was pulling it out. But there was footage from the set of them basically throwing this dog into the water to get the shot, and the dog looked distressed and unhappy. And this is a pretty recent movie. This is I don't know, 2000. I want to say 2016, 2017-ish, because I remember where I was when I found out about this, and that's how I can pinpoint the date. But so that's when the animal cruelty people get involved, because they're like, if you're gonna have animals on set, you've got to at least look after them. And so yeah, I don't think so in this case, because it's clearly comedic violence. It's no more gonna rile up the animal cruelty people than Tom and Jerry is. You know what I mean? It's it's sort of cartoony, nonsensical violence. So hopefully. I mean, let's be honest. Nothing would surprise me, but I would be, I would, if I was betting, I would suggest that there probably wasn't any blowback from that.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
So
but, I mean, given the, I think to be honest with you, given the suggesting that the it's a good thing to get drunk with the deer is probably actually more harmful. Because no one's going to go punching a deer, are they? But I could see somebody watching this movie going, "Oh, they like alcohol."
That's true. That's fair. Speaking of on-set shenanigans, what have you got? Any more notes, or are we ready for Triv? Because I've ran out of scenes to point at.
I've got a couple. I've got a couple more things because I wanted to look at the last bit of the movie briefly, Chris. And so the movie is not a movie to question, right? You don't question the logic in this movie at any point because that is a hole of madness. You'll never make sense of it because it's intentionally just full of holes, which is another thing that was annoying Nadia. It's just none of it made sense. The logic just doesn't work. But I just want to take a minute to talk about the logic of the last sequence, the parade sequence, because I can't understand a writer who gives this little of a shit about his movie making sense.
What element of it doesn't make sense to you, Dan?
Chris, all of it, if I'm being honest with you. Let's start at the beginning, though. Let's start with just pulling a guy off the street and going, "You're the guy," and when he goes, going, "Cool," and then throwing him into what presumably is a multi-million-dollar suit for a stage show stunt thing where the last guy that used the rocket boosters that's attached to that to fly around is still in the hospital and has recently shown brain activity, which is a really good sign.
Well, there's a lot of pressure, Dan, on those parade people to get it right and to produce something, and that people do weird things when they're under pressure, so they already got a warning for damaging the other guy to the point where he's, now only showing brain activity. So this really is their last opportunity to impress the parade bigwigs and ideally get a slot on the Thanksgiving parade. So they're just having to roll with the punches. So I think you can put that down to pressure.
Speaking of rolling with the punches, how about all the people that are aware of what the script is that make passing comments when it all goes off script, but just carry on going along with it? And we can let's go through the list briefly, shall we? So the guy who plays Booster is number one. He goes, "That's not in the script," but then he just sort of deals with it, just rolls with the punches. How about the two commentators on the parade who separate, cover the mics and go, "This isn't what's supposed to be happening," but then start commentating on it anyway, despite the fact, and not raising the alarm for anyone that there's a child now climbing a building that's definitely not part of the show. How about the police officers when Rhea Wilson Liz approaches him and he's like, "That's my son," and they're just like, "Yeah, he's great in the show," and she's like, "This isn't the show," and then no one does anything.
I think for a logic explanation for that, Dan, we have to turn to Madonna, and obviously you'll remember that a few years ago, during a performance at the Brits, Madonna's cape didn't get let loose, and Madonna took quite a tumble and fell. But Madonna stood up, carried on with the, even though that wasn't planned, she carried on with the show, and she kept things going. And I think the guy who plays Buster shares Madonna's work ethic and commitment. So I think they all just went, well, the show must go on. So they just powered through.
That's a good answer, but I'll tell you why that doesn't quite work for me, Chris. Is because when Madonna had an accident on set, she then carried on with the prearranged show. The show that they planned must go on. When Booster falls off that thing or notices the script isn't really happening, he doesn't then raise the alarm with anyone that something is weird. He just sort of, maybe they changed it without me. It doesn't seem to do anything else. He just sort of waits till it all plays out. What my point is here, Chris, is that no one raises the alarm that this goes so off the rails so quickly.
Don't we leave Booster getting beaten up? So I think he's unable because he's getting the shit kicked out of him. I'll be honest. What about
any of the other people, like the commentators or the police or any of the other people who were in on what this was supposed to be, which will have been hundreds of people. I mean, you saw the number of people that just helped Howard put on his suit. All these people involved in the organisation of this, and everyone just goes with it just not at all being the script and the villain chasing a kid up a side of a building, which definitely wasn't planned and is obviously very dangerous.
Here's the logic thing I'll give you, Dan. Here's what I think is the big logic flaw in that sequence, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that at one point, Arnold Schwarzenegger, as Turbo Man, goes through a window and a family are having a Christmas meal, and then he goes out the other window. So for me, the key logic flaw is that's quite a big building. Are we to believe that their living room takes up one entire, like, it stretches across that entire, like, do you know what I mean? We're to believe that there was a window one side of the living room and it's not like there was another room or another anything. Yeah. Like, it's just all that one space. It's all open plan.
Yep.
That for me is where it nearly lost me. But everything else, I was okay with.
I mean, my last point is just the jetpack itself. I mean, you've invented a jetpack, and and what you've done is you haven't gone, well, this is going to be revolutionary. We've invented the jetpack. What are we going to do with it? Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll sell it to the Turboman guys, and they'll use it on a Canadian Thanksgiving. Well, it's not the Christmas parade.
But often when you've had a dream, and let's not forget again, I'm pretty sure their dream is to ultimately be in a part of the Thanksgiving parade. When you have a dream and are so focused on that goal and have been all your life, it's easy to get blindsided by that dream and not realise that you've got something that could be used by the military or other agencies. I'm sure after that parade, somebody went to them and went, "Hold on, this is some pretty powerful tech." And they were like, "I know, Thanksgiving next year, check it out." And they were like, no, like, you could use this for other means.
My final logic question is, he knows my name, and he said it in my dad's extremely identifiable accent. I know they sort of say he's got a voice changer, but we can all hear. I have ears. You have ears. Doesn't do fuck all. It's clearly Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. It's an extraordinarily distinct accent. And then let's not forget, you can literally see his face. That mask doesn't cover his face, Chris. It's a visor. You can see through it. How does nobody recognize him until he takes the fucking helmet off?
Look, as kids, Dan, we didn't notice that the yellow Power Ranger had a penis. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes kids just don't notice these things. And for those that don't know, for me to clarify that statement, the costume footage in Power Rangers was taken from a Japanese show in which the yellow Power Ranger was a man. Therefore, that is why the yellow Power Ranger doesn't have a skirt, but the Pink Ranger does, because the Pink Ranger was a woman in the Japanese original. The Yellow Ranger wasn't. So I just think you don't notice things as kids sometimes, Dan.
Fair. Anyway, should we get to the triv?
Yeah.
So, shock to no one, Tim Allen was originally considered for the role. Didn't work out for whatever reason. 20th Century Fox offered...
I don't think the movie would have been as good with Tim Allen.
No, it wouldn't have been. No. I think Tim Allen is very good, but I think Arnold gives this a special insanity.
Completely.
And his physical comedy is top notch. To Arnold's credit, as bad as I think he is as an actor, especially when he's having to do anything dramatic or convincing as a human, he is very, very good when he has to be angry, yell, or do some sort of physical comedy.
We'll have to do Kindergarten Cop at some point.
Yeah, I'd like to do Kindergarten Cop, Twins. That's fun. There's a few Arnold films. There's another one that I've got on my list somewhere, a Stallone one called Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yes.
Which is...
I really remember that as a kid.
That is a movie. That is a movie. Right. So, 20th Century Fox originally
remember
offered...
Getting Even with Dad? There's so many.
Yeah, another good one. I'll say no. Sorry, not a good one. A good one for this podcast. It's not a good movie. 20th Century Fox originally offered Arnold Schwarzenegger the project after development on a remake of Planet of the Apes, which had been a long-time project for Schwarzenegger, had fallen apart. So they were going to do a Planet of the Apes remake around this time, sort of mid-90s, and it didn't work out, but they still had Arnold. So they said, "Hey, do you want to do this dumb movie instead?"
That's just so, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't. Who? I'd love to be the exec I'd love to be in the room when that exec went. Oh, so Planet of the Apes is done. We got this rejected Tim Allen comedy. It's a Christmas movie. We're thinking it could be as big as Miracle on 34th Street. What, the black and white one? Was it in black and white? I think so. Yeah, no, it was actually. Wow.
Yeah, so Christopher Columbus was a producer on this, and he wanted Joe Pesci to play Myron. But what happened was when they looked at it, he was basically a little too short at 5'3", next to Schwarzenegger, who is 6'2", and they didn't go with it. Which this is kind of weird because obviously Danny DeVito appeared next to Schwarzenegger in 2 movies, and he's even shorter than Joe Pesci. But there you go.
What was the other one that Danny DeVito appeared next to Schwarzenegger in?
So it's Twins and oh god, now you're asking.
I'm sure you're right. I just can't. I can only think of Twins.
Yeah, well, I wrote down 2. I must have looked it up, but I'll now Arnold. One of the Google searches is Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Friends? ?
That's probably that triplets.
Junior, of course, Junior.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, that movie is insane.
Yeah, that's.
Do you remember Junior? Movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger pregnant? That's a movie. That one's another one to add to the list. Fuck me. Arnold made some weird shit.
That's such a crazy film. Well, I still really want to see Triplets, which is meant to be the twin sequel where they discover a third brother and it's Eddie Murphy.
Yes, I think that's happening, isn't it?
I think so. It's been on the cards for years. Anyway, Joe Pesci. I think Joe Pesci would have been good in the role, but I think it would have been too similar to Marv. I don't know if he was Marv or the other one, but I think it just would have been a bit too similar to Home Alone, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that's the Chris Columbus connection, isn't it? As a producer, obviously, he's thinking, well, we've already got a Christmas comedy villain we know that works. But I don't think it would have worked for this character, because I don't see this character as an outright villain. So, misguided, for sure. But, yeah, I don't see him quite as a villain the same way he was in It
might have been good, though, to have, like, Joe Pesci, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, Jingle All The Way.
I mean, you could probably do that now with Home Alone, though. It still works.
I think, no, Home Alone has a better reputation than Jingle All The Way.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah. But I think with this is the difference. Jingle All The Way, I feel like, accidentally became like a cartoon in a movie, like a live-action cartoon. Home Alone is kind of a live-action cartoon, but on purpose.
Just to correct myself, Harry, he didn't play Marv, he played Harry in Home Alone.
Okay, yeah. I knew one was called Marv, one was called Harry. I didn't know which was which.
Yeah. No, it's me that got it wrong. I'm just correcting myself.
No, I'm saying like I would have made the same mistake. I haven't.
Nah,
who knows?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I know they're called Marv and Harry, but which way around that is, I'll continue to shrug at you in a way that suggests I have no idea which is which. And even now, you've corrected yourself. I still don't remember which one is which. You've just corrected it. And I've already forgotten.
Which one does he play, Dan?
What's that, sorry?
Who does he play in Home Alone?
Marv?
No, it's Harry! Oh, that's incredible.
I really wanted to get it right. I really wanted to get it right.
Right.
It's like, it'd be a funnier bit if I get it right, but no, I got it wrong. Oh, dear.
I think it's funny if you get it wrong. Oh, amazing. Right, go
Anyway, no, I just thought after a big speech about how I wouldn't know either way, for me to get it right was kind of amused me, but I tried. I really tried. Anyway, so Arnold Schwarzenegger's agent suggested Sinbad. I guess also an agent of Sinbad, I've got to assume. That can't be a coincidence. They must have had the same agent. But the producers felt he was kind of unsuited to the role of a villain. He was unsuited to the role of a villain, but also a villain. They thought it might harm his, like... At the time, Sinbad had a clean, family-orientated comedy act. that was kind of his reputation, that he was a family-friendly comedian. And there weren't many of those, especially in the 90s. So they were worried that making him the villain, when he was at the time quite beloved in a children's movie, might generate too much sympathy rather than hatred, and they wanted him to be a villain. Again, I actually think that the character isn't that villainous and that they cast it perfectly, but hey-ho. Maybe, I suppose that proves their point, though, that with Sinbad in the role, I found him likeable, not villainous, but there you go. Furthermore, he missed an audition due to an appearance with Hillary Clinton and Sheryl Crow on a USO tour of Bosnia. So he missed the audition because he was in Bosnia. But Chris Columbus actually waited for him to return to allow him to audition. And although Sinbad felt he had messed it up, he was ultimately given the part. So there you go.
Wow.
As put here, Sinbad improvised. It says the majority of his lines. I would question that, but a lot of them, I would say, is probably accurate. Arnold Schwarzenegger was also improvising often in response. So some of Arnold's responses back to Sinbad were improvisations.
That's cool.
So I've made a note of some actors here that pop up in this movie, but I've talked about a few of them already. So Vern Troyer, obviously, originally Mini-Me in the Austin Powers movies, is a really good role. In this, he just has a lot of fun, just running around as a little Santa, just fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is obviously a monster. Great physical comedy from Vern Troyer, as always. Big Show from wrestling, as I've already mentioned. Chris Parnell shows up in this movie as the
guy in the shop, isn't he?
He's the guy in the shop that laughs at him because he wants the toy, and he's explaining to him. And that's so good. I'm a big fan of Chris Parnell. I think he's a really underrated actor. For those who don't know, he'd be Jerry in Rick and Morty, but he's also been in 100 other things. But this is obviously just like a really weird early movie for him, and one of his earlier performances. But he's great in it. And obviously, I want to just point out Martin Mull as the DJ. I like Martin Mull a lot. He's another one of those American character actors that if you were to see his face, if you Google him now, Martin Mull, you'll see his face and you go, oh, that guy. Yeah. I mean, he's just one of those guys that's never the lead, but he's in so many things in great roles. He was amazing in Veep. I think he had a run on 2.5 Men, but I don't know too much about that. I don't watch that show, but he's just one of those actors that's been in 1,000,001 movies and TV shows you've loved. He was the principal back in the old days of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Just wanted to give him a little nod in this movie. It's Jim Belushi
as well,
yeah. Jim Belushi is playing the mall Santa, which is just insane. I'm trying to think who else we've got. There's a bunch. I don't
think we named him earlier. Robert, I've got the cast list here. Robert Conrad is the name of the cop that we referenced earlier.
Yes, Robert Conrad, he's brilliant in this movie. I just wanted to make sure I gave some of these guys weren't even credited, which is tragic.
Did you say earlier that Vern Troyer's not actually credited?
No, he might be on the IMDb because obviously everyone knows it's clearly him. Obviously Curtis Armstrong as well, who I love, is Booster and does a great job in that role. So That's just some credit where credit's due to some of the weird little character actors that show up in this movie. It's actually got, realistically, it's got a pretty stacked cast. A lot of names you recognise.
Obviously some have tragically passed away since, but I was thinking earlier, if you announced a film now, with Rita Wilson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sinbad's still a name.
Even Jake Lloyd, obviously, who I mean, infamous maybe rather than famous, but Jake Lloyd is a name. You definitely, you know what I mean. So there you go. In complete contrast to their characters on screen, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rita Wilson got along very well with Phil Hartman, who plays Ted, off camera. They found him very warm and friendly and considered him a delight to work with. I've never heard a bad thing about Phil Hartman. Tragic passing. I'm not going to go into the details of which. It's one of the most upsetting stories, I think, from Hollywood in the last 30 years.
Definitely.
Taken Too Soon doesn't even cover it with Phil Hartman. He was such a brilliant comedic talent, and this was just I think 2 years prior to his death. So this is
one of his last. I think it was wasn't it the last role that came everything beyond this. Maybe film wise, certainly I think was released after his death. Right,
maybe that wouldn't surprise me. It's such a tragic story. I mean, if you've got a morbid curiosity, obviously you can look it up. But like, it's really sad, what happened with him, and it's a real loss. And I mean, even recently, me and Andy have been rewatching old episodes of The Simpsons, and his work on that is just spectacular. Like he's so good.
For someone that died so young, he's got such a big. Like I was on his Wikipedia page, and like it's just. Such a Saturday Night Live, The Simpsons, obviously. Like he did
News
much.
Radio, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, yeah. The new 75 episodes. Like he was in 155 episodes of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, News Radio is like by all accounts.
Yeah, 75 episodes of that. It's crazy.
I think he did Small Soldiers, which is another movie that's going to come up on this podcast at some point. I think he was in So I Married an Axe Murderer, the one of the early Mike Myers. Pieces, his vehicles. He did a lot of really good stuff. So it's a shame. Oh God, he even appeared in an episode of Caroline in the City, which is an old sitcom I used to love.
Yeah.
Awesome, love.
It's crazy.
So yeah,
crazy.
what a shame.
Taken too soon.
Definitely, and it's from what I've heard as well. I've never heard a bad word about him on a set. He's always It's not surprising to me at all that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rita Wilson got on with him really well. The man is reportedly a delight. So a weird thing happened with this movie. So this movie was actually parodying the 1980s shopping frenzy that happened around Cabbage Patch Dolls, but it weirdly came out the year of the next big Christmas craze that led to people going insane in stores. Fighting over the last ones and like being sold out for months and stuff, which was the Tickle Me Elmo craze of the year this movie came out. So this movie accidentally became like this weird, like, how sometimes South Park episodes have come out because they make them the week of, they can be about the thing that's happening now.
Yeah.
This movie kind of had that, but by accident, because there hadn't been a craze like that around Christmas for a couple of years. And then the year this came out, Tickle Me Elmo happened. So
wouldn't Power Rangers have been around that time though, or was that mainly because I know in the UK there was a real struggle to get all the action figures for the Power Rangers, but
yeah,
maybe,
I mean, we haven't.
I
mean, it's also worth noting we haven't really talked about Power Rangers in the sense of the parody in the beginning of the movie. The movie opens with footage from the TV show that the Turboman toy is based on, and that is an absolute top to bottom, reasonably well conceived Power Rangers parody. Even down to the putties being those multicolored goons who have actually, ironically, suits very much like the Power Rangers.
Yeah, no, it's got some real Power Ranger vibes.
I've also been around that time, actually, so you're right. I feel like it would have been about 95, 96 that Power Rangers toys were, like, certainly in the UK, were basically impossible to get hold of.
Yeah, well, I really struggled, and it was my, I think it was my cousin's other aunt or cousin's other nan that got the yellow Power Ranger for me. That was the last one that I just couldn't find, Dan.
I got so because we couldn't get any of the proper plastic, or particularly the rotating head ones. The ones where they can morph. Yeah. So you press the belt where they morph, and there it would be their head, and it would flip into the body, and then it would be the mask, version. Because we couldn't get anything, my parents got me these like off-brand ones that were like rubber. Like they didn't articulate. They were. I love them to bits because I was a kid and I got Power Rangers for Christmas. Like I didn't care. But looking back on it, I'm like, those were real cheap shit. And it's not my parents' fault. They were just sold out, right? I know that is not a criticism of my parents, but it's so funny when you look back at it, going like, oh, it's so obvious that there was a real problem getting hold of them. I was really lucky to get those. You know what I mean? Like I feel grateful because because that's the other thing about the innocence of youth as well. I didn't ever think that when I was a kid. I loved them like I'd gotten the best version of that toy. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny because I think that will help, because even now in the world of the internet, I was talking with a friend who's got a little boy, and he's been struggling to get hold of a Jurassic World toy or Jurassic Park toy because the Netflix show Jurassic World whatever has come out. All the toys are now in relation to that. Whereas his little boy wants a toy in relation to like, you know what I mean, the line before. And they've really struggled to get it. And part of me, like, because, like, Dan and I are not the rule here. Like, I read this morning rather, that Jingle All The Way has a 15% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Does it really?
I genuinely think, according to the Wikipedia, I genuinely think that this film, what will help it stay in people's consciousness, you know, is that universal thing of
fuck me, it's 15%
to get toys.
It's 15%, but the user score is 30%, 38.
Yeah,
sorry,
see,
that's
nuts.
Mad.
But it made me think of the Power Rangers thing, and you know, it is something that won't go away, but there is also a sense of, I think Christmas films in general, for some reason, stick about in consciousness a bit more. Do you know what I mean? You don't...
Yeah.
Because I suppose it's a time... Like, do you know what? If Jingle All The Way wasn't a Christmas movie, I wouldn't watch it once a year, but now I'm determined to. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Christmas is sort of like a time of people developing traditions. Some of their own, some that are like widely, you know, done more widely. And I think that's why some Christmas films particularly stick around. I mean, there are a bunch of Christmas films you'll like. The problem with Christmas films in general is like you just can't predict which ones are going to stick. And let's be realistic. Since Elf, I don't think any recent Christmas film has. With one exception, which I'll want to talk about in a bit, but
yeah, you and I, when I think I was trying to work this out the other day, and no, I don't think, because we have seen each other this year. You came here, but I was trying to work out whether we'd end up, because of COVID, going a whole year without seeing each other in person.
It's possible, but at this point,
but it's possible because it was February or early March when we last saw each other in person. But anyway. I remember the last time I came to London, we were discussing this, because I don't really rate Elf, but I remember agreeing with you that it is the last classic Christmas movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's one that might jump in there. I guess we'll talk about it now while I'm here, but I wanted to, at some point in this podcast, just suggest people go to Netflix this Christmas. It's Christmas Eve, perfect time, and find the movie Claws. It came out last year, an animated movie.
I remember you saying that.
Incredible. It's honestly one of the best Christmas movies, full stop. It's got some incredible voice cast. It's beautifully animated. The story is really sweet. It incorporates some of the more traditional ideas of what Christmas is and was. I mean, let's be honest. Like, this cast, like, come on, Jason Schwartzman, J.K. Simmons, Joan Cusack, and Rashida Jones. If you're not already going, that intrigues me. You're insane. Like, you absolutely should go watch it. It's on Netflix. You've probably got a Netflix account. Let's be honest. It won't cost you anything. I watched it last year, and by the time Nadia went away for Christmas last year, and when she got back, it was too late we were past Christmas, so I didn't show it to her. But I'm very excited to watch it with Nadia this year and introduce her to it.
When you started that and you said, go to Netflix, I genuinely thought to myself, wow, Dan's going to recommend The Christmas Chronicles.
Am I fuck? Have you seen the reviews for the second one?
No, I did see the first one though, and the reviews of the second one have made me want to check it out.
Apparently, it's an absolute catastrophe on every level.
Apparently, it's just all over the place. But that just makes me want to watch it, Dan.
Yeah, but genuinely, Claws, it's wonderful. It's wonderful on every level. It's the animation, the story, the way it plays out. It's like Pixar level, like in terms of the quality of the thing. It's not a computer animated film. It's like a cel shady looking, sort of more traditionally looking animated thing, but it's just beautiful, and you should absolutely see it. Don't watch a trailer either. The trailer gives a little too much away. I mean, it will make you want to watch the movie. You'll watch the movie if you see the trailer, but maybe just don't. Maybe just stick it on and be pleasantly surprised. But so yeah, should we get back to the Triv? So Arnold Schwarzenegger only signed on for this film the February of the year it was released, and the film shot so quickly.
Wow.
Only 6.5 months were available for merchandising, which is unfortunate, because usually you want a year, because you need lead time on toys to design them, manufacture them to the level that might be needed for Christmas, in terms of the numbers.
I'm glad this is here, because I was wondering whether they actually made Turbo Man toys.
Yeah, so they did, but merchandising was quite limited. So they were only able to make a 13.5-inch replica, sort of $25 Turboman action figure as a sort of like West Coast exclusive. The Turboman Time Racer, which is a vehicle, was a West Coast exclusive, and they didn't have enough to market it. They didn't have enough time to market it properly, or make a lot of them. So this actually frustrates various producers and directors from this film, or the people who worked on this film, because they often get criticized, particularly by the reviewers at the time, that the movie was only being made in order to sell a toy, the Turboman. But Chris Columbus particularly has been very frustrated because only roughly 200,000 Turbomans were made, and the merchandising for it was way less than other movies that came out that year, including previously reviewed on this podcast, Space Jam, and 101 Dalmatians, which had merchandise absolutely everywhere. And look, I agree with him. It's silly to say this movie was made to sell toys when clearly so few of them were available, and they didn't market them that thoroughly. But had they made the movie earlier, and had they had the time to market it and make more of them, they would have. So
I'm almost surprised they didn't push the movie back a year.
Yeah, me too, a little bit actually. It's a really good point.
In their defense, Dan, there not being many, you ready for this?
Go on.
So this is eBay.
Have you found one?
There's a bunch. So there's no bids on this, but there's one for $333.63. One which you can buy now for $600. One that's $249.95. One $550. One $525. One $750. One $91. $91 that's had 22 bids. So clearly people aren't willing to. You know what I mean? The ones that have actually had bids. There's one on for $1,000, and that's a 13-inch one in its box.
See, in the box immediately makes it worth a lot more money. A lot of these look like they're loose. I've just done the same. I've just gone to eBay and Googled it. I've just searched it on eBay, and I'm seeing the same things. I'm also seeing like a comic book with a replica of the coupon that he gets in the movie.
Oh wow!
Huh? Oh, someone's selling the prop cereal box. So you know at the beginning of the movie, Jake Lloyd's pouring Turboman cereal.
Yeah.
Someone's selling that.
Mate, what's that on
$350
on Etsy? Oh, you can get that on Etsy as well, actually, for $7.
But that's presumably
it's a replica. It's a replica.
Yeah.
Mate, on Etsy you've got Turboman T-shirts, Turboman Christmas wrapping paper, Turboman jumpers.
Amazing. Love it. I do quite like Etsy. You get all sorts of weird shit on Etsy.
A Turboman adult costume.
My lifelong dream has been to have a Johnny Five toy.
Yeah.
And they never officially made them, ever. So for years I've been waiting for just an amateur builder to produce a few and put them on Etsy at a reasonable price, which has proven difficult, sadly. There have been a couple that have been made.
Johnny Five, remind me what Johnny Five was.
The robot from Short Circuit.
Right, that's it. They never made a toy from that.
No. Well, if they did, it doesn't exist anymore. You can't even get copies of it. If they ever did. Wow. I don't think they did, though. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. What a missed opportunity. I've wanted a remote control Johnny Five pretty much since I was a child. And it's a dream that she'll never. And there's a few people on YouTube that have made themselves one. Engineering YouTube channels that have made really good ones, but they're worth they put so much money into making them. They're worth hundreds of pounds, thousands maybe even. So yeah, that's a thing. So the fact that these Turbomans is actually quite upsetting to me because I don't care about no Turboman, but man, I never got my Johnny Five. Anyway, so there's a really interesting thing with this film, right? Where for a period of time, a district court jury in Michigan had ruled that Fox had stolen the script idea from a high school biology teacher called Brian Webster. And the studio were originally ordered to pay him $19 million, which, as the court proceedings progressed, came down to $1.5 million. God knows how they negotiated that, but whatever. Webster had submitted a script called Could This Be Christmas to the studio in 1994 and never received payment nor credit, and then the movie went on to make $129 million worldwide. Fox actually appealed this and had the verdict entirely reversed, since this guy's script was submitted to the studio after they'd already purchased the treatment that would become this movie's script. So this movie was in development prior to this biology teacher sending his script, and they were able to finally prove that and overturned an existing court judgment. So for a minute, they were losing a couple mil to this high school biology teacher because they hadn't quite initially been able to prove their case, but then they were able to, find the evidence they needed to prove that they had been working on it prior. So there you go.
Can I just say, fun fact for you, Dan, and that was, I don't want you to feel I was distracted. I did take that in. That's nuts. You'd have to spend. There's a Lego kit which is £141 on Amazon that looks a bit like Johnny Five, but if you look at the packaging, at no point does it actually reference Short Circuit or Johnny Five. So even something made of Lego that is just designed to look like him and comes up if you search Johnny Five robot is 150 quid.
Mad, isn't it?
That is crazy. Thank you, Jess. Yeah. She just brought me in a drink and I was so distracted by that I didn't thank her. But yeah, that's nuts. Anyway,
yeah, honestly, mate. So there are some people that have gone out as well, because in the second Short Circuit movie, and we will come to this at some point, they're making Johnny Five toys in the movie as well. So the movie is about them making toys of him, and there are tons of them, like prop ones, model ones, in the movie, and
that's nuts.
Those props sell for so much money now because a couple of them were radio controlled, and they're amazing. So yeah, there's a guy on YouTube called Webox who's put up a video of him with a toy number 5 with a screen used prop from the movie.
This is going to sound stupid, but is it a Johnny Five toy that Sinbad says he wanted? It sounds
no. We're about to come to that though. If you actually want, and the very next piece of trivia is about that. And this seems like this. The reason this is a real thing is because this was one of Sinbad's improvised elements. So despite Turboman being a fictional product created for the movie, the toy that Myron references in the diner that he did not get as a child is in fact a real toy. It was a real-life toy called Johnny 7 OMA Gun, OMA meaning one-man army, as it performed 7 different functions. The Johnny 7 OMA Gun was produced by Deluxe Reading under their Topper Toys toy line and was released in 1964, where it did become the best-selling boys' toy of that year. The toy was marketed heavily on television, and the commercial went exactly as Myron described it. The toy is no longer made and has since become a collector's item.
So I would like to think that's an improv from Sinbad.
Yeah, I would like to think that it's an improv based on his own childhood. And a toy he really didn't get.
That's why Sinbad took the role, to criticise his parents.
And then at the end, he just looks at the camera directly and goes, "Look at me now, Dad." Right. So filming for this...
Can you imagine how gutted Sinbad was when he saw the edit and realised that they'd replaced him saying it with Jake? He sat next to his dad at the premiere. He's like, "Fucking get ready for this." The dad's like, "Oh, thank you for bringing me. You never bring me to these things." He's like, "No, I don't, do I, motherfucker?" Yep. Mm-hmm,
on the day when they'd shot it, they snuck Jake Lloyd in with a sheet over him so that Sinbad wouldn't see what they were doing.
And then, if Sinbad has got beef with his parents, by the way, I don't know about it and apologise. But yeah. His dad was a Baptist reverend, according to Wikipedia.
Is that right?
Baptist Rev Dr. Donald Beckley Adkins. There you
go. That might explain his clean comedy.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
So, actually, a little game for you. Actually, I was supposed to say this right up top. Do you know? Are you aware of the connection between this movie and Steven Universe?
Yes, Sinbad voices Mr. Smiley, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Well, for the first 2 seasons, and then they switch him out. I don't know what the disagreement. Yeah, he doesn't do it for the whole show, sadly. I think there was like a contract dispute or some sort. Anyway, so filming took place in Minnesota for 5 weeks from April 15th, 2006, which is crazy. They shot this movie for 5 weeks from April 15th, 2006, and the movie came out at Christmas that year. So they put this movie together absurdly quickly. They're filming it in April. It's out by Christmas.
That's nuts.
That's pretty impressive, if I'm being honest with you.
Definitely.
Especially because the ending, as rough as some of the special effects are, it's quite special effects heavy.
Yeah, I don't think it looked dated at the time. Like, yeah.
No, it probably looked reasonably modern at the time, if I'm being honest. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So towards the beginning, we haven't even talked about this moment. Oh my god! So, right, let's talk about the scene, and then we want to talk about the piece of trivia related to it because the trivia is just nuts. The first moment in this movie where I actually belly laughed was Howard in the office telling everyone they're his favorite customer, and then his wife calls, and when he hangs up on as he's hanging up from his wife, he's like, "You don't forget, you're my favorite customer."
Yeah, they do. Because I agree, it's funny, but also, and I thought this earlier, so I'm glad I've had an opportunity to say it. Credit to the movie. They do a really good job in not a lot of time of setting up how he's been a bad father, because it's basically that one scene. And then it's, I think maybe when his son yells at him, he says, you missed this, da-da-da. But do you know what I mean? Has to do a lot of legwork, that one scene where he's late for the karate.
Yes.
And then we're off basically on him trying to get this toy, which I suppose in itself is a reflection of his opinions of his fatherhood. But yeah, it's carrying a lot of weight, that scene. And they do a good job by, I think, being so stereotypical. They do a good job of making that clear.
Yeah. So, do you want to know a little bit of trivia regarding that scene?
Do tell.
You know, Howard signs a document.
Yeah.
In that scene, if you look at what he's signing Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's
my favourite bit of trivia we've ever had.
Merry Christmas, everyone. There's our gift to you.
Is that he just didn't give a fuck? He didn't think? Is that bad acting? Is it negligence? Oh god.
That's good, isn't it?
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm bringing it up now actually because I haven't actually looked at it since I read that trivia. Because obviously I look at the trivia after I've watched the movie, so not to spoil. Let me just double check. Let me see what it looks like. How clear is it? I've got the movie here. There's Jake Lloyd watching the TV. Annoying. He's very annoying. There's his mother, also annoying. Here we go. Where's his son? Oh, here we go. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's clearly an A at the start. Like that, yeah, he's signing that Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's cut away from quite quickly, but yeah, that's his own name. That's his own signature.
Of that online. That is phenomenal.
Yeah. So anyway, so Arnold Schwarzenegger really enjoyed this film, having experienced last-minute Christmas shopping himself, and he was really attracted to the idea of playing a more ordinary character in a family film, having played, a lot of hyper-real action heroes and such. The Tub Man's red suit was modelled after the DC Comics Flash character, which is, I think, fairly evident from the colour to the way the mask fits. Minneapolis does indeed have a winter parade every Christmas season. But it isn't known as Wintertainment Parade, as they call it here. It's called, and I swear this is true, the Holly Dazzle Parade.
Wow.
The difference only being that it's held in the evening, not in the daytime, as depicted in the movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Turbo Man was originally going to be named Turbo Tom in early drafts of the script. And then the final pieces of trivia, Chris, there are two. The first of which we're returning to everyone's favourite segment, Cars Exist. Bow, 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 bow.
Cars exist.
Howard's car is a 1995 GMC Suburban K1 1500 SLT GMT 425. I just like how long that is. And then, Chris, now to our brand new segment, Motorbikes Exist. Wow, 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 wow.
Motorbikes exist.
The cop's motorbike is a 1980 Kawasaki KZ 1000P. Boom. That's it. Trivia. Done.
So, how much, Dan, after loving this as much as we've had, how tempted are you
it's so much fun.
How tempted, and I've had a great time even just recording this. I always do, but I've just had a lot of fun here. How tempted are you to watch the sequel with Larry the Cable Guy?
Not at all. I have so little interest in the sequel. So for those who don't know, because this really shocked Nadia that this existed when I told her yesterday. Larry the Cable Guy made a sequel to this, and
direct to DVD.
It direct to DVD. It looked terrible. I never bothered. I don't even think I even bothered seeing a trailer.
Mate, the trailer is a scene. The trailer's not even a trailer. I tried to find a trailer this morning. The trailer is just a scene from the film where Larry the Cable Guy is turning on some lights. It's not even the trailer. That scene doesn't even mention the toy.
Well, what's really interesting about the sequel, because I looked it up and looked at his Wikipedia page. I didn't look at the trailer. Is that the movie is a WWE production, and I do mean the wrestling company. WWE Studios made this movie. So I'm scratching my head going, so why did the wrestling organization, who do make movies, they've made movies with their wrestlers for years. So they did movies called like The Commando or something like that with John Cena. They made a horror movie with Kane. You know, they dabbled in movies. They've done it for a few years now. They make a reasonable amount of money, enough to justify their very small budgets. So I'm scratching my head. Why is the Larry the Cable Guy Jingle All The Way 2 a WWE film? And it seems they cast Santino Marella, former, I say former, I mean, I don't know if he still wrestles, but certainly an old school. I mean, I've watched that man wrestle, like in person. So Santino Marella is an old-ish WWE quote-mark superstar. They call their wrestlers superstars because they don't like using the word wrestler, because they don't like using the word wrestling at all, because that implies a sport, and it's not. They call it, sports entertainment, which is fairer. I've seen that man wrestle. Apparently, he was given a lead role in this movie alongside Larry the Cable Guy. I would assume that means he's sort of the Sinbad character.
I see. I think the film is about him trying to get a toy for his daughter before, or to beat his wife's ex-wife's new husband. So maybe
the new husband is Santino Marella. And he has. It's worth noting, the only little nibble of interest I have in this sequel is actually that guy has very good comic timing. Santino Marella. I have no real opinion on Larry the Cable Guy. I think he is an acquired taste, but I will say with certainty that Santino Marella is a very funny performer, and I would be intrigued at least seeing some clips of him and seeing how that turned out.
Because I'm tempted to watch it, and I have to say that Jingle All The Way on Amazon Prime has 4.5 stars based on 2,661 reviews. Jingle All The Way 2 has 4 stars, so it's only half a star less. I mean, only.
Well, let's look it up on Rotten Tomatoes, because what was Jingle All The Way?
Only 226 reviews, I must say. But still, can I say something while you're looking that up? Something else I've discovered. If this podcast, if you kind of, listening to the warning at the beginning when, you know what, I don't need to rewatch Jingle All The Way, it's fine. And maybe this podcast has inspired you to rewatch Jingle All The Way. As far as I can tell, in the UK at least, there's 2 versions on Prime. You can rent a version for $3.49. But then, Dan, are you ready for this? There is a 4K Ultra HD version of Jingle All The Way that you can rent for $5.99 or buy for $9.99. So in both instances, it's £2 more to get the 4K Ultra HD. I don't know about you, Dan. I don't know how you watched it. I mean, I had it recorded from Sky. But I don't think you need to watch this film in 4K Ultra HD.
No. I mean, I saw this in Blu-ray and felt that was unnecessary. So, looking at Rotten Tomatoes, Jingle All The Way, as we've established, was what was it, 13%, something like that? 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Larry the Cable Guy led Jingle All The Way 2. No score available. Review count 0. No one even wanted to review this one. And the audience score is 29%. So that doesn't bode well.
I'm still in. Let me see. You can rent. Oh, you can rent it. You can rent it for $3.49. Let me just click watch trailer and see if it's still the. Oh, hold on.
Is it just the clip?
Yeah, it's still the scene. It's still just that scene.
No interest personally. But if you watch it, let me know. I mean, oh God, you're going to pick it next year, aren't you? You absolute bastard.
I don't know. I think we have to do the Santa Claus next year. Love the movie. It's the quality of the movie that wasn't great. It was like it had been recorded or something. There was a bit of light issue, but only for this movie. That's one of the reviews. Brought to wrap as part of our festive activities. Open one a day to watch. Good price for 2 films. So clearly that was a review of both of them.
Yeah.
What someone described it as perfect. Oh, really wasn't worth watching in my opinion. Wish I could get that hour plus black. Not good review. Not arrived in great condition. A lot of people reviewing the quality of the DVD.
This is what's amazing about Amazon reviews. I don't know why Amazon allow this to happen. If someone gives something, a product, a negative review, and the review reads, "Mailman left it on my porch instead of putting it through the mailbox."
Yeah,
that's not a review of the product. Remove that. That's hurting the people's opinion of the product, and it's nothing to do with the product. Also, just want to make a point. Like, anyone who's doing that, fuck off, you're a dickhead. Like,
yeah, I agree.
What's the thinking? You obviously are putting a review in for the product, not for the fucking service, you cunt. Anyway, so we've got, the big question, Chris, before we go, we all want to know. Well, we don't. The listeners don't know this is the question that's coming, but I want to know, and I'm sure the listeners will want to know. This year, Pizza Hut have put together a Christmas pizza. Now, me and Nadia saw it on their menu last week. We had pizza last weekend, and we were appalled. It looked awful. It looked disgusting. Particularly Nadia was, outraged at its existence. And then Chris informed me yesterday when we were sort of, just arranging our. Well, actually, no, we said it was a little chat we had after the podcast that we'd recorded yesterday. Chris casually lets it slip that he was going to purchase with money that disgusting Christmas pizza, which I'll let Chris describe because he did. Last night, order that pizza. And I want to know, one, exactly what was on it, because I've forgotten, and the listeners will want to know too. And also what the result was. Was it as gross as it looks/sounds?
Yeah, because I never go for the novelty pizzas, and then they go, and part of me goes, "Oh, I wish I had a novelty. I wish I tried that
when it was around."
Yeah, like there's been the odd one, and there was a KFC pizza recently, which again sounded awful. Pizza Hut and KFC teamed up, and it just sounded atrocious.
I'm actually a little sad I missed that because that is as gross and shit as that sounded. The novelty of that was actually intriguing to me. Less so. Yeah, exactly. Pizza.
I wouldn't get the. Have you seen what Domino's are releasing for Christmas?
No.
Well, first of all, let me describe. Hold on, let me get the full description up. Let me describe the.
Well, it's weird because at our last place we couldn't get Pizza Hut. We could only get Domino's because there wasn't a Pizza Hut delivery near enough to us in just postcode wise. So we were strictly Domino's for the 6 years we lived in our last place, and since we moved to our new place, we've switched to Pizza Hut initially out of just we have that as an option now, but we just seem to have not gone back, which is interesting. We've only been here 2 years now, so.
Well, I haven't had Pizza Hut in ages. This was the first. Well, not since I think when you came down, we had Pizza Hut restaurants, but I've not ordered from Pizza Hut takeaway for ages. And what's weird about that, at uni, Pizza Hut was our go-to, wasn't it? We didn't really do Domino's.
No, but was that not the same problem though? Was there not? There was a Pizza Hut very close. There was a Pizza Hut basically around the corner, and yet we still always ordered delivery because we're lazy cunts.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, any ordering of delivery in that place was insane because literally the town was like everything was 2 minutes away. But anyway, so the Pizza Hut Christmas pizza is rotisserie chicken, bacon. Sage and onion, I think it is, stuffing, and a red wine gravy base. Now,
now that sounds gross.
I don't think it's specifically a Christmas pizza, but it certainly got announced like a week later. Pizza Hut's limited edition pizza.
I assume you mean Domino's.
Domino's, sorry. Limited edition pizza at the moment in the UK, which I won't be trying, even though it's a novelty pizza, is a doner kebab pizza.
So I guess that's, for the American listeners who don't know what doner kebab is, I guess that's close to shawarma?
Yeah, it's literally beef doner meat, tomatoes, and crunchy red onions. Oh, and then a drizzle of Frank's Red Hot sauce. It just sounds grim, doesn't it?
It does. So anyway, let's not bury the lead anymore, Chris. What? How was it? You've ordered the fucking thing. So this is the sage and onion stuffing one we're talking about now. The first one you mentioned from Pizza Hut, Christmas pizza, rotisserie chicken. What was it? Bacon, and then gross stuffing. And was it a gravy base? Red wine.
Yeah, red wine gravy base. Let me double check it. Yeah, sage and onion. Well, I will say. So we bought that, and we also bought a second pizza, as sort of a backup pizza.
I was going to say as a backup. I knew you. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to put all our eggs in the Christmas pizza basket. I'll be honest with you.
That is very fair.
What I was worried about was the red wine gravy base.
Yeah, mate, that is the moment you go, that's not even a pizza anymore, is it? You've made a shit roast dinner and put it on some dough.
That was the worry, because the rotisserie chicken, a few people have complained. I've seen that it's not turkey. The crispy bacon, the sage and onion stuffing, even like I've had those things on pizzas before, and it's been fine. It was the red wine gravy base I was worried about. They've been quite clever, Pizza Hut, with this. You can't. This is obviously all in the UK. I don't know if there's an equivalent anywhere else, but you can't swap out any of the toppings. You can't swap out the sauce, and you have to buy it in large as well. So minimum you are spending $18.99 on this thing, and you can't change it, which I have to say is quite clever, because I would have had a tomato base. It does make me slightly worried that they're all like pre-prepared, because I have to say it looked exactly like it does in the picture. And any review I've seen, because I like food reviews on YouTube and stuff, and there's one or two up, and all the reviews have pointed that out. It looks exactly the same. You know, sometimes you get a pizza and it looks nothing like I will say, I love Domino's, but Domino's is bad for that. Often I get Domino's pizza and I'm like, this doesn't look anything like it's meant to look. This one looked exactly like that. And I have to say, the red wine gravy base was not as overwhelming as I thought it would be. The main taste was the crispy bacon and the sage stuffing. And it did taste like Christmas. It did emulate that sort of Christmas sandwich type of feeling. I wouldn't recommend only getting this. I don't think it's quite... Sickly seems a bit harsh, but it's quite sweet. It's quite... I don't think... I'll be honest with you, mate. We obviously didn't finish it and didn't finish the other pizza. There's some in the fridge. I'm really intrigued to taste it cold. I'm pretty sure cold it's going to be appalling.
Did they still do the because so Pizza Hut in the UK, I don't know if this is worldwide or if this is just a UK thing. They have their classic crust comes with like a garlic sprinkles on the...
Yeah, that's on there. Yeah, you can get it in pan, stuffed crust, classic crust, or classic crust without garlic. We had it in classic crust.
With the garlic. Was the garlic not a problem with all that? I don't know if garlic goes with any of that.
No, but it's quite by the time you get to the
I
crust,
can't get over the red wine gravy base.
It's honestly that was the thing that put me off potentially ordering it was the red wine gravy, and I wouldn't have it again. And I would recommend, if anyone's thinking of trying this, they do what Jess and I did, which is get two pizzas. Like the other pizza.
Will it still be available when this goes out? Will that still be available on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, I think it's available to the end of December. I think they have put a date on it. They have. Hold on, I'll see if I can.
While Chris checks the date, I just want to say that is nearly everything for this week on Dan and Chris review food. I was a very. I thought we were going to be getting into a jokey conversation about that pizza, and what I love is that Chris has just given one of the most sincere and genuine reviews.
Mate,
in fact, I would argue you gave a more sufficient review of that pizza than we've done of Jingle All The Way.
Right, hold on. Let me see if I can. Sorry, what did you? Because did you expect me to just be like, it's grim? It's not great. Like I wouldn't eat it on its own, and I probably won't order it again.
Sure. But that's not a great review, is it?
It did. And do you know what I mean by like? It doesn't actually taste like a Christmas dinner, but
what was more Christmassy for you? Jingle All The Way or the pizza? What combination of Christmas more?
The combination of the two, Dan, just had me very Christmassy yesterday. But I must admit also, not having had Pizza Hut in delivery, certainly in years, I was very nostalgic for uni, actually, because that taste reminded me of when we would order Pizza Hut quite regularly. I can't see I'm pretty sure I read that it's either like up to Christmas or like the end of December, but it's very limited edition. What was weird is it didn't have cranberry in, but that sort of taste.
Didn't we order Pizza Hut when we did the drunk podcast after the Statics that year when we were together at your place, and you spent the whole night paranoidly checking your phone because you thought you'd had some sort of fraud? Was that not a Pizza Hut night where we ordered?
No, that was bad. And then missed most of Tropic Thunder and watched it the very next day. That was Domino's. I know it was Domino's because I was drunk and did if I eat too much greasy food, it affects my stomach. But because I was drunk and threw caution to the wind, I made my own cheesy garlic bread, which you could only do at Domino's. That's why I know it was Domino's. Where I ordered a large pizza, took away the tomato sauce, and had double garlic spread and double mozzarella. And I don't know if you remember, Dan, but it was one of the greasiest things I've ever seen. And I ate quite a few slices.
The box was basically dripping.
And I ate quite a few slices out of paranoia that I'd been the victim of fraud and drunkenness. And I spent quite a lot of that evening drunk on the toilet. Like, it was not good. So I know that was Domino's. What was I going to say? It just that, that sort of Christmas flavour of like a Christmas sandwich, which is weird that I'm saying that because that's usually based in cranberry and this didn't have cranberry.
A Christmas sandwich doesn't even really evoke Christmas to me because a Christmas sandwich, honestly, to me, and this is maybe just my personal association, I associate a Christmas sandwich with after Christmas. Christmas has happened, you have all of the Christmassy food
no, but I'm talking about like the store brought, I'm talking about like M&S's Turkey Feast, that sort of thing.
I don't tend to buy much of that sort of stuff, but yeah, okay, I'm with you.
You don't buy ready, like, packed sandwiches that often anyway, do you?
No, that's not my thing. Not my thing at all. I think they're often shitty. Or they like to... I tell you what it is. They like to substitute... Instead of using butter, they tend to use mayonnaise. And I'm not a big fan of mayonnaise. So a lot of those sandwiches are out of my... so I don't even bother. I don't like mayonnaise that much. And they almost all have... Categorically, they all almost 100% come with mayonnaise.
Next novelty pizza, we should make a thing to try and not the doner kebab one, but next time there's like a KFC style novelty pizza, we should make an effort to.
So rewind reviews becomes rewind reviews plus random novelty pizza reviews.
Yeah, but I would honestly, if part of you is going and you're put off specifically by the red wine gravy, don't let that put you off. It's not as overpowering as you'd think.
A true review from a review podcast that just proceeded to not review the movie they were talking about.
So got much closer to that 2 hour 50 mark than I expected us to, though, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, we were finished reviewing the movie within 2 hours. We've just this part has gone on for too long. Hopefully people have enjoyed it. I've had a great time. I've had a good old time. So, we'll end it there. But very Merry Christmas to everyone. Hope you're all having a good time and safe. And I hope even those of you who aren't able to spend your time with your families this year because of COVID are all, still having as much merriment as is possible within the sort of safety of that. I know it's a tough year. It's going to be a tough year for pretty much everyone. But, I think there's still reasons to be cheerful. So let's go out on that note.
it's this year's gone by in a flash. I think next Christmas will be better. And I think
it's just one. It's 1 year, isn't it? If
it's
Christmas
about
is a
keeping
little different for a year. Then for safety reasons, I think we can work with that.
Yeah, it's about keeping safe and keeping everyone safe. So I hope everyone out there is being safe and a merry Christmas.
Yeah, I hope you all have a good one, even if your circumstances are slightly different this year to others. I think it's it's a good time for all. And you know what? If you want a good time, just watch Jingle All The Way. Or what did we review last year? Gremlins. We recommended a good Christmas movie.
And the Snowman.
Snowman. Brilliant Christmas piece. Other Christmas films that we recommend. I mean, I do really like Elf. I think that's good fun.
Not to have this go on too long, but have you got any? I'm tempted this year to try and rewatch every Only Fools and Horses Christmas special. Have you got any sort of things you're tempted to try and rewatch or anything this December?
We're gonna do. We always watch every year the extras Christmas special. Because that's just I don't know why, we just enjoy that. But this year we're going to actually watch all of extras in the build up to that. So we're just starting watching extras sometime in early December, and then we're going to work our way through it. Up to Christmas, and hopefully around Christmas, closer to Christmas, we'll end up watching the final. So yeah, I'm looking forward. That's kind of our thing we're doing this year. That we watched it last year. We watched it the year before. We didn't decide we were going to make it a tradition, but it's slowly becoming that way. We keep watching Die Hard at Christmas.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
watched Die Hard last year. I think we watched Die Hard, Jingle All The Way, and Home Alone in one sitting.
Oh wow!
With some friends.
That's a lot of Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you very much for listening, everyone. Obviously, plenty of recommendations there. Definitely go watch the madness that is Jingle All The Way. We will be back, and we'll be back with one of the worst movies ever made in March. I have the exact date here, if you bear with me a few seconds. I might as well give it out now while we're at this point. The 23rd of March. So, in just a couple months' time, we'll be back for a full series of Rewind reviews. We're going to do 11 episodes, back to back, week to week, through March, April, May, and I think a little bit into June. Just the 1st of June is the last one. Joe's Apartment is the movie. If you want to watch it ahead of that review and experience the pain, feel free. I cannot wait to sit Chris through that movie. It's going to be spectacular. And it is, for those who are wondering, why would you choose such an intentionally awful movie? Chris put me through The Girl Next Door last year, so this is sort of revenge.
Oh, don't make it sort of revenge for that, because I'm planning on getting revenge on you for this. So,
well, I mean, that's the thing is that because we're doing 11 episodes a series now, someone gets to pick the first movie, and it rotates. So you picked the first film of the last batch of Rewind reviews. That was A Girl Next Door, and it was awful. I've done the same here. If you want to get revenge on me for this, then I guess your best opportunity is going to be the first episode of the next series.
I'm going there. I think I'm going there right away. But I'm not. But equally, I can't. I don't think the movie after Joe's Apartment will be my bad choice, because there's a bit of a backstory to my bad choice, and it would be good to watch another movie first. So I think the movie I'm going to pick after Joe's Apartment is actually a good movie that I actually really enjoy watching.
Interesting.
But I don't think you've seen it.
Oh, even more interesting. That situation hasn't cropped up too much. Very exciting. Very exciting. Well, so thank you everyone for listening. Stay safe, be happy, be merry, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, then just hope you're having a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. All the best, everyone, and we'll see you next time. So for Rewind reviews for now, I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham,
and we'll see you in a couple of months' time when we review Joe's Apartment. Welcome to Joe's Apartment. We hope you enjoy the show. Oh, I'm so excited.
Is it a musical?
I'm not telling you nothing, mate. But are you still recording?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, I just want to make this point now. You already know that the tagline for the movie is sex, bugs, and rock and roll. And you know it's the first movie made by MTV. So you've got to think music is some part of that.
Ugh. Cheers for that.
I can't wait. We're going to be sewer surfing, mate. Don't worry about it.
Sweet.
Bye.